Look at that, we got numbers.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 460. Light 'em up, boys. Small podcast today. Small podcast today.
Impressive
Small
for
podcast.
4 people.
Well, I clarify. To my left is
Steve Sleepy.
to his left,
Chris Smith.
behind the bar,
Tom Pennington.
and your humble narrator, Phil Waters. This is Good Friday.
It is.
Good Friday. So in deference to Good Friday, which Monday, Thursday was yesterday. Jesus has a meal with his friends.
Yep.
Good Friday starts with Jesus being arrested, and then the day gets progressively worse for him.
That just happens when you get arrested.
I do not know what Saturday is. Merritt and I took some time and looked it up. Does anybody know the religious significance, the Christian religious significance of Saturday? Because the best I found was it was a day of like preparing for Sunday.
Yeah, or wasn't the dude in the rock already?
Well,
right? So
he was already contained in the story that I heard. I heard it from a reliable source. No.
Also, if it's Good
That's-
Friday,
that's a joke in there.
If he gets stoned or all the things on Good Friday,
yeah.
He says he rose 3 days later. Is it
Well,
really 3
Sunday,
days?
supposedly his friends decided that they were thinking about this all day Saturday, and on Sunday they decided to go to his place of internment or entombment. And they went and found the rock wasn't where they left it, and that there was an empty shroud of Turin where he used to be.
So did he get superhuman strength too when it resurrected? Like,
Well, zombies do.
oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Licks.
So zombies
Licks.
do.
We talked about this.
Right. So zombies do have extra strength. You've never seen a weak zombie.
No, it's true.
So, Jen, but then he just fucking appeared on Sunday and nobody threw a rock at him and be like, what the, literally,
Jesus Christ.
you bury anybody.
Well, and the important aspect to remember is that back then, I guess it would be like not BC, but
No, it is.
No, it is literally, yeah.
It was literally 32 BC.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because,
well, right, yeah, okay. Well, but I'm saying, back then,
Right.
that when people died, it was like almost 100% accuracy that they were actually dead when they buried them. So at least
there
they
wasn't
had,
100% accuracy in the early 1900s. People had tubes put on their coffins.
They had the bell thing in the Victorian era.
I'm just saying, but back then there was 100% accuracy, so they were convinced that there was
Right.
just no way that the
Right.
dude was just sleeping for a couple of
They
days.
did poke
That's what I'm saying.
They didn't poke him in the chest with a spear.
And if he showed back up after being stabbed and savaged the way he was stabbed and savaged,
Right.
zombification is the only way I can go on.
That's what- yeah,
That's it.
well,
If I believe it.
Right.
If I'm going to have to buy into the story, that's the only way I'm going to believe it. Now, unfortunately, Meckelfresh and Hofford are not here to defend their religion.
No.
Chris is being quiet, but that's that's it.
No, but that's fine. Because I think, aren't they doing religion things, right?
I don't know. I had to go to because my grandmother made me do the Catholic stuff.
Yeah, my
and
mom
my mom made me do the Protestant stuff. So I had to do. My Easter week was very busy.
You were miserable.
I had a lot going on.
Yeah.
Well, I was a fucking acolyte at the church.
Oh,
So not only did I have to go to Catholic church, but then I had to go to Protestant church and illuminate the place.
So you're all 3 colors on the Irish flag.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you get the orange.
Well, did you at
the
least
green.
pay off on Easter? Did you get 2 sets of baskets and shit?
No, no,
It's not good.
no.
Oh, I forgot my bunny ears. Damn it.
No, it's just Easter, man. It's just Easter. All right. So anyway, a couple of things. First of all, shout out to the guys at Builtwell who sent us a flag. It's not a flag; it's a pennant, and it is a beautiful pennant made in Buffalo, New York, made in America.
Yep.
That says, "If you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough."
Can I just say that more companies, if you're a company out there that watches this dumb thing and you see that, we need more of that. That's what garages need is pennants. That's such a cool thing to hang up in a fucking garage.
We got a lot of crap on the walls, but we need more crap on the walls.
We got more crap. I did not bring all the crap they sent me. Builtwell hooked a brother up.
Okay, but I'm just saying.
Builtwell is going to be. It's going to be hard for them to get kicked out of my favored nation status right now.
But here's some free marketing tips. I don't know if they're valuable or not, but you get a poster from a motorcycle company, right? It lasts a year.
Yeah. Builtwell sent us 4 metal signs.
That's awesome, but
cool.
What I'm saying is for like the normal guy, not a dealer or something like that, but like a normal dude, right?
Right.
I wonder how much more it costs to make pennants, because that is people would put those in their garage and they would live there for 25 years.
Well, I own 2 Builtwell helmets.
Right.
So I personally bought with my own money 2 Builtwell helmets because I like them. I think they're a really cool helmet. They made a helmet that looks the way I like a helmet to look.
Right. A little retro-y, kind of like
Very retro, bass boat metal flake.
So if you're looking for a helmet in the near future, we recommend you check out the Biltwell line.
Right. I mean, hey, why not? Here's what we know, Tom. They listen to the podcast. Well, that's pretty fucking cool.
They're always
Second of all, when I talked to their rep today.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, Renee talked to their rep today, right?
Right.
He was like, yeah, we get a kick out of your podcast. It's fucking hilarious. You're not taking yourself too seriously. We got a box of stuff for you.
Oh,
well, they always have a really good booth at Barber because they're always like right across the aisle from our booth and Jay and Fire Jay's booth.
Yeah, they're
always there.
They do a good job,
and they're always cool. Everybody always hangs out.
Their marketing department's on point. They have grips for your motorcycle that are made of the Vans tennis shoe pattern.
Yep.
Right, and people who ride motorcycles that may associate the Vans, the waffle sole.
Yep.
Well, if you can have grips on your motorcycle that say Vans on them and have a waffle sole, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Converse didn't get there.
Nope.
Right? So, good job, Biltwell.
Good job, Biltwell.
Good job, Biltwell. So, that was pretty cool. We opened that box today and got all our goodies, and it was fun. And
Renee opened somebody else's box.
Renee for the first time, right? The first time Renee dug into a box and it wasn't her own. And one of the things they sent was a fish taco pin. I got a new hat and I'm going to be loading up my new hat the way I load my hats up.
Right.
And my favorite pin in it is a taco shell with just the most obvious dead eye fish, X for eyes fish laying in the taco shell. Fish taco. Big fan. So very cool. They did a good job today. So I got to give them a little shout out because, that's nice.
Yeah.
And nobody asked them to do it.
Well, it's cool stuff.
They're not sponsoring us in any way. They haven't sent us anything other than to say we listen to your podcast and it's fun. Here's a box of swag.
I mean, technically, this is kind of sort of free advertising for them.
We've been doing it for the past 7 minutes.
That's also true.
That's exactly right.
7 minutes.
Can't pay for this, right? That's
goddamn.
Right. I'll send the bill. I'll make sure to send them a bill.
Right.
We'll invoice them fortnightly.
They're gonna have to
$4. Oh, well, based on the manscaping schedule.
Yeah.
That was about $4.
Yeah.
That was it.
And look what it did for them.
I know, right. Yeah.
Look where they are now.
They're on 5.0.
Yeah, well, they're not just ball trimmers anymore.
No.
Right. So that's it. Now we got to send them a bill now too.
Oh, God.
Fuck. We talked about them again. So one of the things that we've got coming up that I wanted to make sure that people know about because we are getting close. It is on the radar, or it should be. That is the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. And I have this year, after 12 or almost 13 years of doing it, I have enlisted the help of a homosexual.
Okay.
Sean is embracing this.
So it's going to look better this year.
This is going to be
friend and constant appearance. Sean.
I promise you, I tried to get him here tonight, but he said he had
a date.
He had somebody to do or something. I don't know.
I guarantee you that the color and the floral arrangements are going to be so much better than they have.
Oh, well,
I'm kidding.
No. He has got ideas.
Oh, the kid's got really style. He's got good ideas. Style. I love that dude. He's awesome.
The DGR themselves, DGR proper, leaned into it. I think they did a very good job of leaning into it this year because their color palette and everything is badass. So that's nice. When they think about it, they're like, okay, we got to make the thing fun and make it neat. What they did was they went into a very kind of a cool 70s aesthetic in their marketing. So the color scheme is all going to be like orange and green and blue.
Hopefully you're going to ride your Steve McQueen bike.
We'll see. Who fucking knows, right?
It's the color scheme of it, right?
Yeah. But I always I like riding scooters. I like riding underpowered bikes for DGR.
No. We've talked about this. You're due. You're gonna have to join Chris Smith's camp because when's the bike showing up?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. You mean Ada Janice?
Yeah,
another Janice.
They have told us
right?
That.
He said that they are going to get us a bike for the shop so that we have something there to show people.
We're being serious.
Yeah, they're not giving it to us, but right, it'll be there on consignment, and people will be able to buy
as they should because they have inventory bikes they're just sitting on.
They do. Yep, they do.
And it is the kind of bike that if I walked in a shop and I had a bunch of money in my pocket, I'd be like, oh.
That guy
did this.
We put his in the front window.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So we put his in the front window. And then this year we've had a couple more showing up, and I've had them in front of the shop every single day.
Yep.
Now,
the guy today that bought the red GTS.
Mm-hmm.
was giving that thing the hairy eyeball. Like,
He really was.
really into it.
Yeah.
Which one was that? Is that the green one?
It's
That
the
bright
bright
green
green one.
Yeah.
The bright green one.
Chris,
Yeah.
would they sell one of those without the motor?
All you can do is ask.
Right.
That's true.
So just a little bit on that. I know we covered this before, but I'll say it again because you asked the question.
Right.
That company started by not selling you the motor.
Yeah.
Oh, you're rattling.
Am I
Something-
good?
Something back
What
there
is going on?
It's
Yeah.
microphonic, the cable.
Oh,
It's either the cable or it's your headphone cable touching
it
your.
must be.
Your, head-
Oh, I see what's going on. Hang on.
your headphone cable is trying to strangle your
I
audio
got it.
cable. Yep.
We're good.
All right, that's much better.
We're good.
All right. So here's what happened. The way this used to work, the way Janus started was building a 50cc. So it would get through some of the registration and licensing laws in a lot of places. And it was a kit. And you could put your own motor in the kit or you could put their motor in the kit. And that's the way they started. And they started by building basically component bicycle systems, but they were component motorcycle systems. And the idea was that being that it was under a certain number of cc's, in the vast majority of states, you didn't need a title for it. You didn't need to register it, in a lot of places. That was the idea. Now, what's going to happen when you do that? When your motor options are a 49cc motor or a 70cc that used to be a 49cc motor that we're not telling anybody is a 70cc motor because then they'd have to get a title for it, right?
Right.
Well, everyone's going to say, can you make it bigger? And Janus did. They made it bigger. They found a motor that worked and they made it bigger. Then what did people do once the 250 came out? Can you make it bigger? And they did. They did a 450. And they're doing that. Those two fellas that were in the shop today from Marietta, Ohio, they came in. They were going up to Detroit to buy a bike in Detroit. On the way back down, they stopped in our shop, bought a Vespa. So while they were here, the guy that's the more motorcycly of the two of them said, what would look really good in that Janus out there is a BMW R50 motor.
Oh, yeah.
The smallest boxer that
That's what
that
I was
can
thinking.
box it.
I was actually thinking of a V7 motor or something
right.
like
And
that.
he goes, that would look really good in there. And I'm like, well, okay. To me, what would look really good in there would be some sort of a parallel twin going long ways.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
An inline two.
A
Right?
V35 Goodsey motor.
Again, I think though, here's my problem with V motors and that bike. That motorcycle's gas tank is sexy. And you don't ever want to hide the gas tank on a Janus. Because so much of what gives it its identity, the board tracker look and everything, is that gas tank.
A
That
Kimco Vnox 250 motor.
still V-twinification. Take all this shit off of it.
Yeah.
Take all the fake fins off of it.
Yeah.
So you just see the water barrels, the water jugs.
Yep.
Then it looks like a Scott Flying Squirrel or something, which is an early water-cooled motorcycle. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
That'd be neat.
See,
I think you're right. The older looking,
Or
less
maybe a
bullshit on it.
Suzuki GZ250 with all the fake fins taken off of it. Like little small V-twins, but lose all the fake fins. Like lose all the things that try to make it into a Harley.
But you could also any of the two. Like if you could put a two smoke on that thing somehow.
I mean, you think about all of the James and all the early British motorcycles from the 20s and the 30s and 40s. I can't remember what movie it was, but they were like, call Timmy Two Stroke and get him to come and deliver the packages.
The very upright single cylinder.
Yes. Absolutely purely vertical. And I would authorize a bit of Triumph trickery to have a fake valve poppet up there. Completely fake. Doesn't do anything. Just hanging there. Right. It could be a decompression release or something, but it would be disguised to look like a fake valve poppet. It'd be like, pop, 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 pop. It wouldn't do anything, but it would just look cool.
Yeah, right.
So Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, it's coming up.
Yep.
The reason, here's the reason I want to bring it up. We've been doing it a really, really long time. A really long time. And I posted this today on my social media. Mm-hmm. We have 45 people registered in one day.
Yeah.
I got to warn you, our hard cutoff for our DGR ride is 150 people. Mm. So we will not have more than 150 people in our ride because we always have people sneaking in and stuff like that at the last minute. The reason that we are not supposed to publish the routes and This is Billy Joe Jim Bob, and I don't have a computer, but I'd really like to know where we're going to meet up for that DGR ride. Well, the reason I'm not supposed to tell Billy Joe Jim Bob where we're meeting up for the ride is because DGR is a large organization that at this point is delightfully suable. They move a lot of money around. They would like for the money to go to the charity and not go to paying for the attorneys to defend the charity. So they don't want this excessive exposure of having people get in the ride that haven't at least taken the goddamn 10 minutes to read the registration rules. Now, registering for the DGR is free. You don't even have to promise to scavenge money from your friends. You don't even have to promise to earn a nickel for them, but you do have to register. And the reason you have to register is they need to make sure that they can tell their lawyers that every person that's participating in that ride has read the fucking rules. So that when we have a situation of somebody getting hurt or somebody getting a crash or somebody doing something they really shouldn't have done, they can't say, well, I'm stupid, but DGR's got money and we're going to sue them anyway. They have to have some sort of an affirmative defense. That's why you have to register. It is not Donald Trump trying to put cameras in your motorcycle or whatever. This is not a vaccine with a computer chip in it. This is literally just registering to participate in a charity ride. And if you don't like the charity, that's fine. You don't have to show up. You can have your own ride wherever you want.
Refresh it, see if it went up one.
Oh, did it go up one?
I don't know.
Oh boy, I don't know. All right. So yep, it did. It went up 2.
All right.
It went up 2. Holy shit. Well, that's pretty cool. Did you register UMB?
No, I registered me.
Just you. Well, see that? It went up.
Yep.
Yeah. So right now, we're down. We only have 103 slots left.
Yeah.
And the reason we're bringing this up is I wanted to bring this up tonight because we do fill up early. Mm-hmm. And our ride has consistently been one of the best rides that's fully populated. They don't have to try to beg people to show up for it. We have the people. And this year we're going to do things a little different.
I want to do a camera bike. So like this year, like I want to be able to film people. Like it's always hard to get in front because people don't know. But I think if we do in the meeting, and say, hey, that's a camera bike.
Don't pass it.
Yeah.
Don't pass the camera bike.
Yeah. Or like if he comes out, because I'm
going to say that for
shots.
one person.
Yeah.
But they'll be there.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not allowed to tell you where we're going. I'm not allowed to tell you where we're ending, but you know where we're ending.
It's going to be in Cleveland though, right?
Yeah. And I can tell you where we're starting because we started there several years in the past, right? You know where we're starting. Skidmark, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to start there. Now, what's in between my friends is a whole fish of another color. And we're going to do something we're expressly not allowed to do. So we're not going to call it what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But here's what's cool thing. There will be prizes. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be leaning heavy into my sponsors. We're going to make sure there's prizes. There's going to be tests of your intelligence. Because you're going to have to solve a problem and figure out where the ride actually goes. So the first part of the ride is going to be very clear, and anybody can get there. And as long as the guy in second place follows the guy in first place, and the guy in third place follows the guy behind him, everybody's going to be in a nice row, like ducks in a row, like we've always done it forever.
So if you're a curmudgeon that doesn't like to have fun, the first part, you can at least do the first part of the ride.
Well, I'm just going to promise you that the first part of the ride is going to be every ride you've ever been on. Mm-hmm. Hopefully. All right. It's going to be just like everything normal. But in the second part of the ride, the second half of the ride, is going to be a little bit more of a choose-your-own-adventure thing. And the idea for that is so that we break the group up into smaller pieces. Mm-hmm. Because having the size group that we have historically had, moving them through 137 stoplights, either ends up in being the world's worst accordion you've ever seen, or the world's fastest trip down East 55th Street. Mm-hmm. Last year we had the second one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Nobody's ever covered the distance we covered in that amount of time, ever, thanks to enthusiastic blockers.
Yes.
Right.
Well, some of those guys, I guarantee you that some guys have their calendars marked, just Xing shit off, wait until they get to take that job again.
Yeah, the blockers were having fun.
They love that shit,
especially for a job that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And we will deny their existence to the end. Yeah. We didn't tell them to do that.
Oh, that one dude's like a 20-year veteran blocker. Like that motherfucker, like
I swear to God.
I guarantee
Dude's
you
got the moves, doesn't he?
And his license plate, I guarantee on his car is BLKR. I guarantee it.
And he is on An Electroglide, not a Softail. No, he's on a full-fledged Ultra.
And I've seen it sideways several times when he hits the fucking the intersection.
He is not playing around.
No.
He is not playing around. He can make that fat girl dance.
Yeah, he can.
And it's amazing. And it's also got all the swag on it.
Oh, it's got everything.
It's pretty cool. He's got
the get backs, the get ups.
He's a neat guy, too.
Yeah,
he's a neat dude. And what I thought was funny is at one point I was going whatever speed we were going down East 55th, and I was trying to keep in front of the group enough so I could look down the side roads to make sure there wasn't a truck or bus or something coming that was going to squash us.
Right.
It's Sunday, after all. Mm-hmm. And out of nowhere, he fucking catches up to me. He must have been going 130.
Yeah.
And he catches up to me and engages, like drops anchor to slow down to my speed. And he's like, okay, do you want me to get the next intersection or do you want me to go all the way to Broadway? Because Broadway is going to be pretty hairy. And I was like, oh, that'd be great if you go up to Broadway. And he's gone.
With authority and a smile.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we got through the next mediocre intersection.
Yeah.
When we got to Broadway, and I mean, I posted people up for Woodland because Woodland's also hairy.
Yeah.
And we got through Woodland spectacularly.
Yeah, I was hanging behind you.
It was great.
It was good.
We got Woodland all sorted out. But when we got to Broadway, I was expecting trouble.
Yeah.
No, that one human being had blocked 5 lanes of traffic.
Oh,
like
he shut
5
it down.
directions.
Shut it down.
He shut that intersection down.
Yeah.
You would have thought the Pope was coming through. The place was closed. And we rolled through and he's got the whole place on lockdown.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We got 150 bikes through. Nobody got separated.
Dude.
On one dude.
We should. Now, I know this sounds cheesy, but I guarantee you the dude would fucking love it. We should make sashes. Fucking blocker sashes.
So what you don't know about the DGR is DGR is so well appointed, but I haven't necessarily played into it. DGR has armbands that you can download and print out. So DGR has actual real armbands that you can print out and then, print on cloth.
Yeah.
And then give the guy a handful of safety pins and he can be that. It does violate my rule, though, about being
organized
and obvious.
Yeah.
So when we participated in this little event that went from New York to New Orleans, one of the things that made it tough was they made us letter our cars up. So you were no longer invisible.
Right.
You were no longer just a $500 car wandering down the interstate. The addition of anything that looks like participating in an organized event sometimes can draw attention to you.
Oh, yeah.
And then if a person who's law enforcement minded goes, you know what, that's a lot of people, they're going through, it seems like they have their shit together, that's fine. But if they see armbands and clear, obvious, this is an event, they're going to say, how come we weren't notified and asked to be an escort for $45 an hour?
Right.
I'm going to go shut these assholes down. Otherwise, though, it could be a funeral. It could be anything they don't know. Usually, though, when we have seen law enforcement officers in the past, having the guy leading the group being on a Vespa usually softens them up a little bit.
Yeah.
When the lead guy is dressed hilariously or whatever, and he's riding a Vespa, now we might want to turn down the level of law enforcement application, right? Because you don't want to be the cop that says, I'm going to be out on East 55th Street with 100 Vespas.
Right.
No. It's just like you just showed up the wrong day for the Pride Parade. It's not, you're cool. Don't sweat it. So I lead and I tend to ride smaller bikes like this on this event because it's not intimidating. Mm-hmm. And when you wave at the cop and you're riding a dorky, a Honda Trail 125 or a monkey bike or something, the cops are usually like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. These guys clearly aren't a crime wave.
Yeah.
Right? The Sons of Irony have just showed up. Here we are.
Sons of Arthritis.
Yeah, that's it. So anyway, I wanted to say, so now if your town doesn't have a distinguished gentleman's ride, it's also free to make one. Yeah. So you can go to their website. If you don't have a DGR, create a DGR. Where any, 3 or more of you are gathered in my name, there is love. That's how this works. So yeah, do it. If you're not going to be a part of the local one, do it. What's funny is I have not actively done fundraising for this event. Just haven't done it. It's just not been a thing. We just I just am so busy putting the ride together, I don't have time to do fundraising.
You got enough going on.
What's funny, though, is people have donated to my account without my knowledge or permission. So last year, I didn't fundraise one penny, and I earned $700 from Movember Foundation and Prostate Cancer Restate.
Well done.
I thought that was pretty fun. So that's cool. Mm-hmm. And there's also, there are rewards that you can do. They will work with head and like fancy watches and Quad Lock and Triumph. So every year, if you're registered, you're automatically in the running to win all kinds of fun, cool prizes. So that's neat.
Sick.
Yeah, it's really neat. This year, I think they're giving away a Triumph motorcycle, so they'll be doing that. So yeah, there's all kinds of reasons to do it. It's fun stuff. So yeah, do it. It's a lot of fun, and I've done it in other cities. It's a good thing to rip around on, have fun with. Anybody else topics that they want to chat about before I get straight into hate mail?
I did see the Harley, well, not Harley, the Livewire
Chopper.
Yeah, whatever that new thing is, the Malibu. No, the
Del Mar?
the road. No,
Mulholland.
Mulholland. So the review, the guy's like, he comes down, he's like, well, guys, I really wanted to like this thing.
Oh, no. Usually it's like, I really wanted to hate this thing, but I love it.
Yeah, no, this guy, he's into electric bikes.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, I really wanted to like this thing. But he's like, it's terrible. It's just terrible. They had it for an hour or something, and it lasted for 30 minutes, and then he had to go and try to get it charged.
That's not good.
It was just terrible. The whole thing was terrible. Good. So everything that we were talking about and laughing about it and saying at $17,000, no.
Right.
He kind of confirmed even worse than
that's
we
a hard
thought.
Push, man. Yeah. That is a hard push. That's not an easy thing to sell.
No.
Chris?
So I was going to say, I was talking to Richard Worsham over there at Jan's. And a couple years ago, he did an iron butt from the George Wyman.
Yes.
And so he was running behind. So what was interesting to me was that one day, second day, third day, he rode from Walcott all the way to Council Bluffs, Iowa.
Wow.
In one day. So he got on the road at 2 a.m. And rode straight through until like 11:45 p.m. that same day, like 22 hours.
Oh, that's a tough day.
On the 250.
On the 250.
Yeah.
Damn, that is a tough day.
And so I was talking to him. I said, how much did you ride on I-80? And he said that he rode on I-80. I said, well, what kind of speeds were you getting? And he was 62.
Yeah. And
then he would jump off onto 30, which was paralleling, and do a little bit slower. But I was shocked that he did that amount of time on the same bike in the same saddle.
Wow.
Hours, and then on such a small bike.
Right.
I asked him if he'd do it again. He said, probably not like that. But has taken that 250 on 3 iron butts.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
So
yeah, I've done across the country a few times on small bikes.
Yeah,
and I've never been like, this was so enjoyable. I'm ready to do it again. I've always been like,
this was a bad idea.
Yeah, next time there better be a bigger check. Yeah.
But the point is that the bike hung in there, and I asked him. I said, "You run into any trouble? Did you run out of oil or anything like that?" And he said, "No, it's just." It's the motor that you and Tom and I think you to a certain extent talk about, just kind of being a bulletproof motor.
Yeah.
And just plows on down the road.
The only thing that you can't do with that motor is hold the throttle wide open, because it's a motor that's designed to be a very chill motor. It's designed to not be revved to 10,000 RPM, bangity bangity bang over and over again. It's every application that particular motor has been used in has usually been an ATV or other type of more pedestrian type vehicle. Nobody's putting that motor into a crotch rocket or a sport bike or anything like that and having any success at all, because it doesn't work. That's not what that motor's designed to do. It's designed to do exactly what you're doing with it, which is you're not banging the shifts on that bike. And I think it is the right motor for that. Do I think it would be better with other motors? Well, of course it would. Yeah. But those motors don't exist, not in that format. And I think they also have to say, well, in order to keep the price even approachable, we cannot put an $8,000 motor in here because there are specialist shops in Japan that will build you a specialist motor that will look how you want it to look and do the things you want to do. But at, $4,000 or $5,000 a pop, they're not going to be able to sell any bikes.
I bet you, though, if they did a limited edition, like 25 versions of some fucking 4-cylinder, like you're saying,
the straight 4,
like up like that, with
it would be $1 million per bike.
Right.
Yeah.
Because to build a motor that does not currently exist is going to be $1 million a motor for the first 10 motors.
Or some shit laying in fucking like Indonesia.
One of the problems is that over the years, we never cared about the past. Therefore, we never kept the stamps to build, or the forges to build, or the molds to build these old motors.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about the Linhai, this motor is a fairly recent Japanese-built casting that got taken to China, and China is just continuing to produce that motor.
No, I get it.
So you could build, the Rebel 250 motor ended up in China and is sold as a twin-cylinder 250 over and over and over and over again. So you could do something like that, but it still does not look like a turn-of-the-century engine. And what Phil and I were talking about earlier, where you take, like, the Vinox 250 is a Honda V-twin motor from the mid-'80s. They never sold here. But Kymco got it in Korea. But if you take all the weird plastic cladding off the side of it, it just looks like a old, carved out of stone engine.
It looks like a compressor motor.
Yeah. It literally looks like two water-jacketed cylinders from a compressor from the mid-'50s.
Right.
So you could get this look, but it also involves, if what you want it to look like and how much money you want to spend to make it look like that. And right now, it looks the part.
Yeah. I mean, it's not bad. Chris enjoys it.
And like I said, after seeing that the new Scrambler they just came out with, I'm down.
Yeah, that Scrambler's cool. I have to admit, I liked it a lot.
Did you many years ago on our podcast, we talked about what happens when somebody says, like, well, we want to build a bike, we want to build a motorcycle, we want it to have certain properties, we want it to do certain things, right? And there's a lot of people that say, I want to build a better mousetrap, I want to do that. And when the German motorcycle company called Münch, they wanted to build a performance motorcycle. They wanted to build a motorcycle that had...
Hang on. You've said it wrong.
Münch. Yeah. So when they wanted to do that, they said, well, we're going to use an automotive motor. Motorcycle engines aren't big enough. Motorcycle engines aren't powerful enough. Motorcycle engines aren't doing what we want them to do. And so I think it would be better if we went ahead and for our motorcycle, if we used a car motor. Now, you can see what they have there. Every time I've seen one of these in person, and I've been lucky enough to ride one, every time we would see this bike, you would see this bike and you would go, oh my Jesus, that motorcycle is large.
Yep. The Munk Mammoth.
It's not. By today's standards, it is not large.
It's basically about the size of a Ducati 750 Sport from the mid-'70s.
No, it is bigger than that. Bigger,
but not much.
The motor is...
Oh, the motor's huge.
3.5 inches wider than a Honda CBX motor. Yeah. Totally. Because it's an automotive motor.
Yep.
The gas tank is strangely tall. But the seat is a normal size seat. The handlebars and the forks and everything are all normal size handlebars. But keep in mind, talking about this idea of like, oh, I want to build a bike that has a motor that looks like a straight 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
This company had resources, and they decided their best bet to build this particular motorcycle was to steal a motor that already existed in an NSU car.
Yep.
So they took an air-cooled motor out of an NSU car, and they repurposed it into a motorcycle. It's not the first time that's been done. I mean, car motors have ended up in motorcycles before. There was a not so unpopular move to take your BMW and put a Volkswagen engine into it.
It was in Popular Mechanics for a really long time.
They'd sell you the kit.
Yep.
So the fact that these car companies that existed would steal this motor, and it had the attributes. It's air cooled, so you can see the vents on the back for the the cooling of the engine. It's an air cooled machine. It's a very small car. My mother-in-law in Germany had one of these, and they're not what anybody would call powerful. But if you take away the 2,300 pounds of car and you wrap it in an 800-pound motorcycle, it's going to move along. Right. It's going to move along pretty good. And so it's better to do that. So find the motor that you want to put into your Janus frame that already exists. And for that, I would tell you, maybe look at snowmobiles have an inline motor. They have 3 cylinders right in a row. Okay, that's kind of cool. Now we're getting somewhere. The motors already exist. I wonder if there's any crashed snowmobiles in the world. You might have one in your backyard right now.
No, John took it.
Oh, you took it? Okay, all right.
It blew up.
I know. So, but the point being that there is a resource. Also, jet skis use the similar kind of configuration.
I'm real because I like the Janus. I've come around.
Oh, okay. All right.
The reality is, though, I don't want to put a lot of stress. I really would not want to put a lot of stress on that frame. Because one of the first bikes I ever worked on was a Royal Enfield Bullet, the old Bullet.
Completely different.
But it had a sidecar on it, and the stress of the sidecar cracked the frame.
Yeah.
And one of the things I would worry about with the Janus is if you put too big a motor or too much power to it, it's going to twist that frame.
I disagree.
You disagree?
I totally do.
Okay.
Royal Enfield frames are made of Royal Enfieldium. John and I have intimate knowledge of this, and they're welded together apparently by children with sticks.
That's fair.
Stick welders.
Have you seen? I sent a picture. This is a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if we ever talked about it. I'm sorry. It's the welding thing.
You go right ahead.
$65,000 side by side. And they showed the welds. This guy walked in.
Oh, wow.
And it looked exactly like what you were talking about with the Royal Enfield. It looked like some third grader. There was literally pieces of welding rods stuck in the weld that they just powder coated over on a $60,000 side by side.
It terrifies me. Sometimes we see things, right? Yeah. Sometimes we see things and we look at it and we're like, no, that's not. They're really not building it.
No way.
They're really not building it that way, right?
Way.
But when we cut apart an Enfield to make a custom bike out of it, and we're cutting through these metal tubes
mild steel
that have welding on them, right? And we're realizing that they never got penetration in the weld.
Oh,
right?
God.
So we're going.
This is why the frame cracked.
We're going to take this frame apart, and we're going to cut through this. And while we're in the process of cutting through this, the weld failed, right? And we're like, well, that's not good, And we're also looking at the way they had, in order to affix things to the frame, rather than somebody else would have a plate welded, gusseted between 2 bars in the frame, and then they would have a tap would go in and make threads in that plate steel, and then you would bolt things into that plate steel.
Right.
What Enfield was doing was Enfield was actually drilling holes in the frame and tapping into the thin wall steel of the frame.
Oh my God.
Or Enfield was taking a little round cylinder and welding a round cylinder to the metal.
Oh yeah.
Tack.
Yeah.
And then putting threads through that. We looked at these things.
That might be better than the hole in the frame.
They're all better than the hole in the frame. But when we would look at these, and we would just be like, there is no way in hell this can be a company that's been building motorcycles. They had the keys. They had the keys to the tooling for that bike since about the 50s.
Yeah.
It was English. It was an English motorcycle. And then India got the tooling.
That's like the first company that they went, you know what, we should just sell this to the Indians and we'll keep building BS.
So I curated my
true.
Instagram from death videos now to Indian factories.
Oh, God.
So every video that I get every single day now is just dudes in long shirts with no shoes on dirt floors making shit that you probably bought. They're building brake shoes. And
so the reality is you're still watching death videos. You're just watching death videos in an industrial
slowly.
Dude,
so circling back.
Please do.
Before we go down the death spiral here.
Oh, yeah.
So you were talking about the quality of the frame. You were suggesting about the Janus quality of the frame. So did you want to finish that?
Yeah, thought? I did. And this is what I wanted to bring up about this particular thing. Ignore the fact that the guy is welding on this without wearing glasses, without wearing a hood, without wearing a helmet, right? Ignore the fact the guy is welding on this with a stick welder.
This is
right?
not a Janus.
No. Ignore that. Look at the motor. The motor is a very handsome looking motor.
Yeah.
And that motor would actually look quite nice in a Janus. And that motor comes in a 350cc version and a 500cc version.
Okay. Because I keep
This
thinking
particular motorcycle is a 350.
I keep thinking early XS650 with the knuckles on top. And this is a smaller version of that.
So in my opinion, Janus has the right amount of real estate in it. Now the good news is you don't have to use the motor that's in the Janus right now, which is a very obviously Chinese motor. It's a motor that even people that don't know anything about bikes kind of look at that bike and go, that motor doesn't look like it's from the same century as the rest of the motorcycle. Yeah. Whereas this motor does look like it's from the same century as the rest of the motorcycle.
It looks like it was chewed out of metal by a small child. Yes.
Well, but here's the more important thing. This company will sell you as many motors as you want to buy.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need to buy the motorcycles to go with them. So this particular company, if you want to buy a 500cc or a 350cc version of the motor, and as long as you promise to only do Janus-y things with it, it'll actually be a really good motor for you. The problem with these motors is when they came to the United States, people didn't try to do Janus-y things with them.
Yeah.
Because they had suspension and they had a motorcycle, right? And they would take this motor and take it out on the freeway and try to go 70 or 80 miles an hour on it. And parts would come out of it. Chris rode his Royal Enfield in a very sedate way. He didn't go out and hammer it and trying to go 85 miles an hour down the freeway on it. But every single person I sold that particular bike to that did that to it did experience sudden loss of compression via lightening of the motor dramatically as parts came out of it.
Yeah.
It's fine if you use it the way it's meant to be used. In a Janus motorcycle where you have absolutely no rear suspension on the back, you've got these big tall wheels. It is completely a 1920s throwback machine.
Yep.
I promise you, the guys at Janus right now are saying, Phil, shut the fuck up. Our Chinese motor is 10 times more reliable than these Royal Enfield engines.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. They're right. But their motorcycles look like they're from 1988. And if their motorcycles' engines, just the engine looks like it's from 1988. So if their motor in their motorcycle looked like it was from 1928, then it would match the rest of the motorcycle.
Yep.
But because they have a 1980 motorcycle engine in a 1928 motorcycle, the thing that people have come into my shop that know motorcycles say is, fucking cool bike, man. Look at the attention to detail. That's gorgeous. Shame about that motor. Mm-hmm. What can we do to make that motor look older? And I promise you at Janus, they've had that exact same meeting.
Yeah.
How can we make that motor look more like this motor?
I mean, how much would it cost just to like fabricate a new head? You know what I mean? Like
a lot.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, that's the problem.
Here's the thing. Do not say the word fabrication unless you have $1 million.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Like
how
a
many of these?
CNC
How many of these do you need to build?
How many? Well, let me ask you this: how many Januses do you think
To
they
test
sell
them.
a year?
I think they sold 2,000 so far.
Yeah, they're probably selling a couple hundred a year.
Yeah. That's,
So you could probably hire a CNC place, and then the head would, it'd probably be about
Because
$300
heads are
a
empty,
head.
Steve. There's no valves in that head. There's no springs in that head. There's no guides in that head.
Oh, but
there's 100 pieces in a set of heads
No, but I'm saying,
that all need to be fabricated.
But could it be an additional thing or something that goes over it, a head sleeve?
Now that's where
I'm saying like an aesthetic thing to make
Yes.
it look
right.
Yeah,
I get
not
it.
like a performance head or anything.
No,
but,
no. I'm just saying that you are way further ahead if you do the dress-up package.
Yeah.
And Tom was talking about a particular motorcycle that nobody in our podcast listenership knows about, so it's
Yep.
fucking lost on everybody. But there was a motorcycle called a Kimco Vinox 250. Kimco's mistake was they tried to make it look like a Honda Magna, okay?
Yeah. Oh, I've seen this
And
bike.
a Harley Dyna
Oh,
had
yeah.
a baby.
Yeah, okay, I've seen
Okay?
that. Yeah.
And how they did that was by pressing some fins out of plastic and clipping them onto the sides of the motor. Now, they're not the only ones that are guilty of that, by the way, because Honda did that shit too.
Oh, yeah.
My Magna is water-cooled.
Dude, my Kawasaki
And it has fins.
My Kawasaki Z900 has
Right.
fake little millimeter
I had to buy fins
Yeah.
for a Honda Shadow 750 one
Exactly.
time because I broke the mounting
Yeah.
tab for the airbox.
People have been putting fake fins on motorcycles since liquid cooling has existed.
Yeah.
So adding things to the existing Janus motor is not that bad of a sin. But I'm certain the people at Janus have entertained that thought because they want that bike to be very authentic.
Their job is very aesthetic. Like they
Absolutely.
want it to be as
Bike is
as original
beautiful.
as possible. Yeah, it's a cool looking bike.
And the only part of the bike that takes you back is when you look at that and you go, I know that motor. And it's one thing if you say, I know that motor, that's a Harley Hummer motor. I know that motor, that's an Aramaki 305. I know that motor, it's a whatever. That's one thing, right? You look at the motor, you go, I know that motor, that's a flathead Ford V8. And everybody goes, oh yeah, a flathead Ford V8. Because yeah, there's a dude in Cleveland that has a motorcycle with a flathead Ford V8 in it, and it is sexy, right? Because the whole thing is done in 1940s period styling. It's cool, pretty cool, like pre-war style. That's neat. But the problem is, yeah, we used to deal with companies that made parts. And the guy would be like, yeah, you get me an order for 10,000 and we'll make a part. Because that's what it costs.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to make one part, then you got to stress test it, you got to heat test it, everything has got to be done. Because you don't want to make 1,200 of them.
Right.
This is the Jesse James rule. We got these parts, they're super cool. This is great. We're going to make 500 of them, sell them on the internet. And then they realize that 6 hours into the use cycle, it breaks. Uh-oh. Now we got to change everything and we got to buy back those 500 that are going to break. Nobody has time for that. And a company like this doesn't want to get sued by the surviving family of the guy who died when his head failed on his motorcycle. Because motorcycles have a certain implied danger to them. So it's better to take a motor that already exists. And trust me, from an EPA standpoint, it is way better to take a motor that already exists. Because it's already been proven to be a thing. I do think that as much as we shit on it, the Royal Enfield 500cc motor, it's aesthetically nice looking.
Yeah.
They went to a lot of trouble to make it look Art Deco and kick ass. I'm going to bet you that Royal Enfield will sell them to you for less than $1,000 a piece with the transmission and the fuel injector already there. And then you could rehome it, right? And it would look very cool. And the motor would no longer be a part they're painting flat black. It would be a part they're like polishing and calling attention to.
Yeah, right.
Right? Because then it's cool.
Yeah. John would have PTSD, but
John would have PTSD. He did we like to make fun of it, but John did have building those Moto Guzzi or those Royal Enfield gearboxes. He had that shit down to a science.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing it at 1/4 the speed of an Indian guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did pretty good. Yeah, he's
John's
pretty
no
rad.
dummy, man.
No, he had that shit dialed in.
He's not 13 years old, and you made him wear shoes.
He has big hands.
Yeah, he has big hands.
Big hands. Big hands. And that was a small hand kind of job.
Caucasians
You know,
are just too damn big.
I would just like to see the rest of that picture that you have up there. I guarantee you there's 4 fucking car batteries with some cables between.
Oh, yeah, that is not an AC welder. No, that is pure DC. That is purely DC. And I also like the fact that guy is literally looking into the sun, and his only eye protection is squinting.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Engage safety squints.
Engage safety squints. Yeah. But I thought that was pretty interesting of that note.
Yeah.
Okay, want to get in some hate mail?
Yeah.
Hate mail.
Oh, John, sorry, buddy.
Sorry, buddy.
That's his
No,
favorite.
yeah, I know. This is the one we were literally saving for John, and John's not here, so John's just gonna have to get fucking over it.
Yep.
So the motorcycle in question is a Honda Dream 250. Now that's not the motorcycle you think of. Okay, I got to be completely clear with you. Everyone, when we say Dream, everyone goes, "Oh, 305." They default. They default to
CA 160.
Exactly. Right. And Tom just did that to whip his metaphorical dick out.
Right.
And be like, I know about a number other than 305.
I always think about the Dream 160 before I think about the CA 305.
You do?
Yeah.
Really?
The 160 always comes to mind first.
Wow. Well, that is kind of fucking weird. But anyway, yeah. So the nomenclature for that particular motorcycle for the nerds at home was the CA72. So CA72 is what that particular bike is. There were a lot of different Dreams. I mean,
And look,
a lot of them.
We get it. Honda really loved NSU.
Yeah, and it's pretty obvious they were stealing from the Germans, right?
the
So
Germans.
that was not a shock to anybody. When that particular bike came out, it did have all the, and this was Honda saying for the first time, we're going to build a motorcycle that we're going to build a shit ton of. And I mean, Honda said, and they did not come in low on this. They built a ton of these. And I've heard it from people that worked at the factory when this happened, that when they brought in the Dream platform, by this point, they had already had a relationship with Kwang Yang Motor Company, and all their small displacement bikes, they pushed all that manufacturing to Kwang Yang Motor Company. We call that Kimco today. And they had freed up as much space in the factory as possible to build these Dreams because they were putting everything they had into this Dream platform. And, I don't think it's overstating it to say the future of their company hung on this. Because had this failed, that we might not have a Honda today, because it was that much impact. And when the Honda Dream hit, it was the hot seller. It was the bike everybody wanted to have. And it changed the dynamic of what motorcycles are. It went from being this is a leaky, noisy, drippy, loud, smoky machine to, well, isn't that delightful? It comes in colors.
That motor wouldn't even look that bad in a fucking Janus.
Yeah.
I mean, really, look at it.
Yeah.
It's better than the one that was,
Well, okay, so that just shows you the bar's pretty low, right? Okay, the bar's pretty fucking low.
Well, the
All
motor
right.
that's in it is not much removed from this motor.
But there's
So-
something bubbly about this one. It looks more older.
It just has more fins.
It has all the fins.
Yeah.
Even the head has fins.
Yeah.
Like even the parts of the motorcycle that don't need to have fins have fins. The fucking the fucking electronics cover has fins. Everything has fins on this motor. So this is for our longtime listener, not first time caller, Matt Davidson, who's, we go way back with Matt, like super far back with Matt. And so Matt's got this Dream 250. And now this is a guy that's been through CB350s. He's been through a litany of motorcycles, right? But
I thought that was Dave Matherson.
he was for a week.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That went over well, let me tell you.
yeah.
I'm not going to read the full text message he sent because there might be women listening. But
No, there's not.
good point. There's no women listening. Yeah.
Didn't we do the whole demographic thing where you were like, there are no women listening?
Yeah,
to this
no,
podcast?
No,
YouTube, yeah.
We had four. So in the one episode that we did, we got demographics on that I did a deep dive on the demographics. And I don't remember which episode it was. I have no idea.
Well, we know one of them. It's Moto Hop's wife.
Right.
Or is she Moto Hop? One of them's Moto Hop.
Moto Hop. Yeah,
I
she's
think
Moto
they're just
Hop.
all Moto Hop.
And Liza.
Yeah.
I don't know how she identifies on the internet.
there's
but
two.
Yeah. The point being, there were four, right?
But we
had
probably
more-
know them, though. That's the...
Yeah, that's true.
We had more listeners in Armenia than we had female listeners. Factual statement.
Wow.
I know, yeah.
Factual statement. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to bring this up. So here we go. A much anticipated email. Is my money not fucking good enough? Say my name one more time on the podcast without answering my questions, and I'm going to show up like Beetlejuice.
Wow.
It's true. No, John and I have had an inside joke going, like kicking each other under the table thing for the past, 7 or 8 podcasts, where I will always say, and we've got an email coming up from Dave Matheson or Matt Davidson, right? And John's just, oh God, because he knows I'm never going to get to it.
Right.
He knows, and that is the Cleveland-Moto way.
It's like the Matt Damon...
How do you keep an idiot in suspense?
Exactly.
I'll tell you tomorrow. So we decided that today's your day, Matt.
Today's your day.
He's going to be pissed because Meckelfresh isn't
'Cause
here,
Mac's
of course.
not
Right,
here,
right,
yeah.
exactly. So anyway. So, hey.
You're going to have to settle for my dumbass.
It's okay. It doesn't matter because it's a game of stump the chump anyway.
That's true.
So in this particular bike, in this Dream 250, I'm going to read it the way he wrote it. 64 Dream 250 bike runs remarkably well, but revs to the moon in between gears at speed. Okay? Idles like a champ, starts first or second kick every time. What the fuck am I missing here? Slide snaps back. I know it's something stupid, but what the hell am I missing? Now, in case he hasn't defined enough, I will give you an auditory example of what's happening. Brrr, pull the clutch in. Brrr, oh, put it in second gear. Brrr, pull the clutch in. Brrr, oh, shit. Put it in third gear. Brrr, pull the clutch in. Brrr, put it in fourth gear. Brrr.
Okay, but did he
Every time he pulls the clutch in and he returns the throttle.
Okay, so he is returning the throttle. We're 100%.
Okay. He's not an idiot.
No, I understand
Yeah,
that, but
right.
I'm saying
Yeah.
if you left it, if it was,
I don't think he'd be writing us if he said, by the way, I'm leaving my hand in the full wide open throttle position.
No, but did we clarify that he did close it? Because what I'm saying is,
Well,
is
I'm
if
glad
under
that you asked
load-
that, because in my return to him, it says, are you a complete fuckknuckle? No, it doesn't say that. It doesn't
No, I'm
say
just
that.
saying, but if it was open even a tenth or a quarter or anything, once you pull that clutch in, you have no resistance. It's gonna rev quite a bit.
Unless you're returning your throttle back to where it's supposed to be.
Right.
I said, so when you come to a stop, does the idle come back down to normal right away, or does it hang up? Is there any difference between actually putting it in neutral and letting off the throttle, or keeping it in gear and holding the clutch in and letting it come down? So Tom and I were pre-gaming a little bit, trying to think about what this kind of where the fuck is this headed? Because I have had motorcycles before that when I would rev them up, and I let go of the throttle, they would still kind of climb. And then eventually they would slowly fucking find their way back down again. Sometimes they would climb and I would have to fucking find the kill switch or put my hand over the carb because they were still climbing. So, Tom?
So the original thought on this was the springs on the timing.
Correct. This was a hypothesis we had with
Yeah,
John.
this is the early one with
When
John.
we talked about this, when it was Dave Matheson. Dave Matheson's problem.
So because most timing cams are spring loaded, which means that they will open when they're wide open, and they will close, and that will change the
and
timing.
for the home
across
listeners
the
who
board.
are not familiar with how things work, in order to make this motorcycle function at 900 RPM, the timing has to be quite retarded.
Yep.
And in
Just
order
like
for the
us.
motorcycle to function at 7,000 RPM, well, we have to advance the timing. And now on a lot of things like your lawnmower and shit like that, you have fixed timing. So because the lawnmower is going to operate at 1,800 RPM or 2,000 RPM, the timing doesn't need to be retarded and advanced. They don't need to have movable timing, And people are talking, people are always like, oh, well, this has got, the Honda's got VTEC, variable timing. Well, no, what made the Honda motor important was it had variable valve timing.
Yep.
And that meant that the valves would actually change how long they were open and closed based on your RPMs of your motor. That's some pretty advanced shit to be able to have the valves operating like the vehicle has more than one cam in it. So that it has one cam at low RPMs and one cam at high RPMs, the cam that the valves ride on. And the variable valve timing that Honda got famous for, that's been around the motorcycle industry for quite a while too. But what we're talking about here is variable spark timing.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you a very random number. So at 18 degrees before top dead center, right, on a single cylinder motorcycle, it will go spark. Why is it happening at 18 degrees before top density? Why isn't the spark coming when the piston is at the very, very top of its travel? Why wouldn't the spark come right then?
Because now you're compressing the explosion.
Because you're still squishing.
Yeah.
And we don't want to give you the spark then because actually the piston will already be on its way down, right?
Right.
Now, if we make the spark happen too late, far too late, then the gas will be very, very, very well compressed. And then the spark will go off. And the bike will, they say, motorcycles that have very, very advanced timing will be very hard to start.
Won't they detonate occasionally too?
Well, that's it. That's it. If we retard them enough, if we retard the timing enough and make the timing hit too late, the motor can actually run backwards.
Yeah.
So you can retard a motorcycle if you do not read the manual on how to set your timing up correctly especially with Hondas that have multiple cylinders. There's T's and P's that are there and F's to make sure you know that you're on the right part of the clock position when you adjust the spark to go bang, the spark to spark. And that's when the points close, and it actually makes electricity go from one side to the other. Because even though there's a very small gap, it's enough to stop the electricity from going, and no electricity gets to the spark plug. Now, it is a very common thing in the world of motorcycles and cars too, that there is a spinning device in there, and that's the cam, not the cam for the valves, but the cam for the points.
Yeah, right. Points cam.
And the points cam spins around. And as the points cam is spinning around, right, we are getting a predictable, every single rotation, a high spot and a low spot, high spot and a low spot, high spot and a low spot. The high spot, it's pushing the points apart. The low spot, it's letting the points touch each other. Now, it's going to be consistent. It's going to always be the same thing. Well, if we could have a rotating disc that is centrifugally based with some weights on it, then the faster it spins, the more the weights slide out with centripetal force. And when they go out, or centrifugal force, when they go out, that is actually going to shift the location of that plate a few degrees.
Yep.
And when they spring all the way out, that plate is going to be advanced. And that spark will then happen a little bit later in the detonation process, allowing them to get more compression per bang. Right. And then the motor is timed correctly, even though you're going 7,000 RPM. When you slow down, the centrifugal force pulls those weights back in, the springs that they're hooked to, pull them back in, and then your timing goes back to being retarded again. So that when you're sitting at the red light now at low RPM, your motor's not screaming or you're not timed wrong, stalling. Because if you have high advance while you're...
That's me again, yeah.
While you're at low RPMs, your motor will stall because you have the spark hitting later in the situation than it should, or early in the situation than it should. Long and short of it is, what did I say brings those weights back? Springs
And
wear out. Springs fatigue.
That's why whenever you change, because I know this from BMW. Now I've seen Hondas as well have the same setup.
Makes sense.
But you always change.
175 motorcycles I can name right now have this setup, including all the tractors.
Always change those springs when you change points and condenser.
Absolutely.
Period.
Nobody ever does.
And when you go to nobody ever changes those springs. So the first thing Johnny Mac and I both looked at each other and went, well, "This guy's got a fucking spring problem. The springs have never changed. They changed the points, and the points are just staying open at the wrong time."
And we've seen those springs broken. We've seen those springs fail and they're broken. Right.
Yeah, so it just stays in that state. Yep. But you went further because I didn't hear, and I know Johnny didn't hear the thing about where he pulls in the clutch and it keeps revving up.
Right.
And at that point, I said it was probably the copper floats, and or the needle are sticking, or they're not, or the float level's not set right. And even though he's closing closing the throttle, it's still sucking gas because you're still running at 7,000 RPM.
Right.
So no matter what you do, no matter how much you close that throttle, it is still bringing gas up through that carburetor.
Let me add one more thought.
Sure.
So I used to fly RC airplanes a lot, big ones. And so I had this 40%er with a DA 200. And the carb used a phenolic block that went to it. And when the engine would get hot, it just moved just a little bit enough to give it an air leak. And I couldn't land. I'd have to run the airplane out of gas because it would idle and it would go all over the place with the throttle, right? So that's another thing. If he has a carb boot leak or something like that, like when you're in gear, it probably has enough resistance that you're not really feeling it doing anything.
Well, that's a very good point.
These are a Bakelite isolator with two O-rings on either side and a paper gasket to kind of bolt everything together.
If it was leaking air through the carb, so on these types of motors, well, and generally most motorcycle engines, I always tell people, like, if your motorcycle engine's 25 years old, you've got like 20% more air in the mix than you're supposed to, because you've got 17 different little leaks. You know, every mating surface, every gasket, everything in there is leaking something somewhere. The rubber that the motorcycle is meant to have is all turned to wood by now, right? So you don't have an air leak. You have a collection of small air leaks. And your idea, like, oh, well, I did the WD-40 test, or I did the starting fluid test where you sprayed around the carburetor and you hope you don't catch yourself on fire. But you're like, I'm going to spray a bunch of carb cleaner around my carburetor and listen to see if the RPMs go up or down. It's in every Haynes manual, whatever.
Yep.
In all of those situations, in those Haynes manuals, they're assuming that your motorcycle has good seals, good gaskets, good mating surfaces, and that if it does, if the revs go up or down, then you've isolated that problem to being leaking right there. But I'm going to promise you that simply adding carb cleaner to the air around the motor will find those vacuum air leaks around that motor, and it'll go in there, and you're going to be like, that's the problem. It's that carburetor gasket. It might be your fucking flywheel side gasket leaking, and it's sucking the starting fluid in through there, or the carb cleaner in through
this
there.
This R5 hasn't been started in 25
Exactly.
years. Where's the air leak?
Right.
Everywhere.
So you have to be careful with old motorcycles, especially like this one, that you don't go down a bunny hole of trying to say like, oh, well, this is clearly the problem. No, you may have 17 air leaks. Yeah. This motorcycle's from 1964.
Yeah.
Right? You know, this is a 60-year-old motorcycle.
Tolerances were good in 64. They weren't that great.
Well, so
and they haven't gotten better.
I would say to start by looking at your points and look and see if the springs are there. Make sure they have tension on them.
Get you a good Tommy gun and rev it up.
And this thing of, I have sold thousands of sets of points to my customers, but I have never sold a single set of springs or weights for advanced cam timing. So I know that there's at least 1,000 motorcycles out there that have sparkly brand new points, but are running around on probably factory original 60-year-old springs. Now, it's one thing if it's the spring in your grandfather clock, but this spring is moving at 7,000 RPM for 60 years. Yeah, it's probably fatigued. Yeah. Probably fatigued.
And I mean, they're itty.
They look like the springs in a pen.
Yeah.
And then you add heat cycles into just spring cycles and everything else.
So that's something that bites people in the ass a lot.
Yeah.
But Tom's other point is, in podcast number 17, we talked about the brass floats that are in vintage motorcycles, because many vintage motorcycles will have these things that look like a little, Deo bongos, and they're just little
pillows, just
little pillows. Yeah. They're just adorable little brass pillows.
Brass pillows,
right? And what's funny is there will be one little spot of solder on them, one little spot of lead solder, and the way that one little spot of lead solder has to be there is, believe it or not, the people who manufactured it knew that someday you'd have to do maintenance on it. You got to be fucking kidding me. Like, the idea that in the 60s and 70s, the concern for the consumer was so high, they said someday these two little metal buoys will spring a leak. And that when these little metal buoys that are soldered together like the world's greatest plumber did it, I mean, the tolerances are so tight.
They're adorable.
They are adorable. But you know when you pick them up and they're heavier than they're supposed to be,
or you go,
or you hear the maracas inside shaking around, the gas inside. Well, guess what? A float can't float. And it turns out in these motorcycles, the height that the float is very important. Because if a float is, quote, sunk, so if you have a sunk float, the needle that allows the gasoline to go into the float bowl of your carburetor will never close.
Yeah, she'd be open.
And it means that at the worst possible time, when the needle is supposed to be closed, the needle is open and gas is full flowing into the carburetor, which is going to overflow the float bowl. And where is all that extra gas going to go? Into your motor. So it's like you still have the throttle open. Even when the throttle's closed.
Chasing that problem for ages. Because after about 1983, you don't have to set. The worst thing is the spring in the needle
on
goes
the needle.
bad.
Right. Right. That's it.
But before that, you literally have there are tools so you can set the float height, which nobody has heard of.
Not only do you have to set the float height by measuring the float from the outside of the bowl, by removing the bowl and measuring it.
The test.
The test, right.
The test.
Push it like
Right.
that. But dude, that's one of the things when you when you're like, I'm just gonna clean these carbs real quick, slap it back together, and then you hear the you're like, fuck. Now I got.
And even the carburetors, like his Suzuki, his later carburetor on that bike, it has solid plastic floats.
Yeah.
In a brilliant move, they were like, do you know how we're going to keep these floats from getting gas ingressed into them? We're going to make them out of a solid piece of plastic that will float. That can't get gas into it because it's a solid. And everybody went, oh, that only took 70 fucking years. But you know what happened?
Before that, they had
broke?
the foam that would degrade.
They fall apart.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was that company Suzuki had this great idea, and the American farmers went, but shouldn't we put corn in everything?
Yeah.
And ethanol came along.
God.
And then ethanol destroyed a perfectly good float system because the floats that were designed to resist gasoline, nobody at the engineering department in 1981 ever told them, by the way, we're going to run cars on ethanol in the future.
Right.
And they went, no, we're not. No. Fuck no.
Ducati gambled on their plastic gas tanks and lost.
They did. Yeah. Every single Ducati gas tank for many, many years had a shelf life or a lifespan. And you're like, hey, that's kind of weird. My 4-gallon gas tank took 4.5 gallons today.
Yeah.
Don't ride your motorcycle. Park it. Go home, drain all the gas out of it right now. You're about to have an entire motorcycle or an entire garage covered with gas.
Yep.
And I happen to own one of those motorcycles where I would always know that when I'd put my tap on, I'd always know when I'd switch over to reserve. Always 140 miles, switch over to reserve. 140 miles, switch over to reserve. Man, this one time I'm riding and I was like, I'm at 160 miles and I have not switched to reserve yet. What in the hell is going on? And I got home and I'm walking away from my motorcycle and the entire Ducati decal on the side of my gas tank was hanging off. It was just hanging there because the gasoline had escaped my fiber plastic glass gas tank because the ethanol, well, the gas tank was impervious to gasoline, but it was not impervious to everything else that was in the gasoline.
Right.
And I'm in my garage like, my dumbass was looking for a bucket because the whole time I was driving it, by the way, it was dripping gas onto the motor and my boot. Yeah. And so I'm looking for a vessel to put the gas in instead of just pushing my motorcycle out of the garage.
Right.
So I'm looking for a pan to put the gas in as all the heat of my motor is going up into the gas in the tank and expanding the gas in the tank and putting more pressure on the spots that were leaking, the seam that was leaking. And I watched it go from a little trickle to just in about 10-15 seconds. I was like, oh. And I eventually found a cardboard box and put a cardboard box under it. You cannot catch 1.5 gallons of gas in a cardboard box. It doesn't fucking work. Merritt comes out and she's like, what smells like, oh, what have you got going on?
Yep.
And I'm standing there and I have a cigarette in my mouth. And she's like, what the fuck is happening? And I was like, I have no idea. And and then I was like, well, we didn't have the internet back then, so I couldn't mutually, get on there and say, does anyone else have a Ducati with a super sport with an exploding gas tank? Because my Ducati's trying to kill me in the garage. All the gas came out of it. That motorcycle was already 10 years old, right? It was 10 or 12-year-old motorcycle. But yeah, the Ducati engineers and the Ducati manufacturing people were like, plastic's cheaper than fiberglass.
Yep.
You know what? I think the early Triumph Tigers with the bug eyes, I think they're hitting that age limit.
Yeah, they
now
are.
You see them where like the tanks look a little thicker or a little wider. I don't know. Like they're and you can always, every set of stickers is always bubbled off the side.
I was going to say, if you have the Tony the Tiger one, your Tony the Tiger stickers
not there.
Did not stay on. No.
So short answer is check the timing.
Yeah, I think it's check. I think get
Long
in there.
Answer is make sure your floats are not full of gasoline.
Yep. I think both of those things are worth looking at.
Yeah.
I think both those things are really, really worth looking at. Because otherwise, these motors run forever. These are really, really good motors.
So ta-da, hate mail done.
Well, I mean, I believe we've serviced him.
We've given it.
I also had Renee send him an extra overstuffed box. So I think he actually got a Tanuki.
Okay.
So yeah, I sent him we sent him an actual Tanuki for his troubles. So hopefully Matt Davidson's happy with us now. So we can stop.
So if you're angry
we were tugging his chain a little bit because we thought it was funny. And there were about 60 people that were in on the joke. Yeah. Some of our podcast listeners were like, "Oh, you're a fucking dick." They're just like, "You're rotten. You're just evil."
It's what we do. We're assholes.
Well, it's fun. I mean, the idea is it's meant to be a good time.
It's meant to be. It doesn't necessarily hit the mark often.
Look, y'all pay for this.
It's meant to be. We try. Y'all
sit at home and listen to us.
I get that shockingly embarrassed thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like you go into your dentist and you're sitting there and you look up at your dentist and you're like, oh shit, I've seen this guy before. Where was it? Where have I seen this guy? And you're like, oh, the sex club. That's right. And you're like, oh, that's awkward, right? But
never had that problem.
Well, but this is I've had a couple of people, and today a guy came by with his kid, and they were like, "Hey, man, we listened to the podcast. We just wanted to stop in and see the place." And today was a very busy day at the shop.
You've been pushing some tin.
Well, and it's just we've had very bad weather. We had a little sprinkling of awesome weather. We had really, really rotten weather. But what's happened is in those nice 4 or 5 days we had in a row in Cleveland, everybody went, "I have a motorcycle," and they went, "Let's go start my motorcycle." And they went out and their motorcycles didn't start. So they brought them all to my shop. And so a couple of weeks ago, Tom got like 16 motorcycles in 2 days. And well, the way it happens is they're all fixed a week ago.
Yeah.
And so for a week ago, I've been like,
get your shit.
Would you like to come and get your motorcycle, please? And then, 4 days go by, and it was bad. I mean, the weather was rotten, so I didn't lean into anybody.
No, yeah.
So, but yesterday, I had 16 people, and hey, you know the motorcycle yet? Remember, I told you, 8-10 days ago, I was like, we fixed it. Remember that whole thing? At the bottom of the work order, it says, we'll hold your bike for you for 3 days, and on the 4th day, Jesus charges you $30 per day.
Yep. Right.
After that, because Jesus returns and charges you $40 per day.
And he has to pay off the bill for that dinner.
Right. That's it. That's why they put him on the sticks. So they went ahead, and so he told everybody, he was like, so what we're doing, we've had a discussion at the shop, and what we're doing is we are going to work the holiday weekend. We're not taking Good Friday off. We're not taking casual Saturday off. We are going to work at the shop. We're going to be there from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. both days, so that to serve you better, so you can come in on that gorgeous Friday. In fact, some might even say it's a Good Friday, and pick up your motorcycle. We're here for you. Well, but I said, oh. I don't want to have to remind you that you're already 7 days over the free 3 days. I could be calling you to tell you about the $210 of storage you owe me. But instead, I'm calling you as a courtesy to let you know that we'll be open for you
to come get your shit
on Friday and Saturday when we should be off like you are.
Right.
Are you working on Friday and Saturday? Oh, you're not. Oh. Well, maybe you'd like to come and get your shit.
Yeah.
Or the next phone call is going to be reminding you about the $250 you owe me for storage. Well, you're going to be a dick about it and everything else and everything over there. It was like, hey, man, you brought the bike in for me to work on. Tom worked on it. It's done. Did you think we weren't going to get it done until it was 80 degrees out?
Square feet in buildings is free.
Yeah.
You didn't know that?
Yeah, right. Well, no, its problem is not the square feet in the building is free. It's some have to leave for some more to come in.
That's my point.
Right.
Yeah.
And our push-out, push-in routine is like the Keystone Cops. It looks like a clown car.
Look, I fixed 20. I'm ready for the next one.
Right. This is
now I'm getting bored.
Well, but it's also, when Tom's done with a motorcycle, he pushes it into the hallway. That's my indication that I need to take it out for a test ride. Mm-hmm. Right?
That's what you do.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And so Tom pushes him into the hallway. Well, why doesn't he push him outside? Well, because it's snowing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that test ride. We might have to get back to that another day because it's fucking snowing out. So it literally has been like, okay, that bike needs to get back to the service department. But the hallway, the tunnel, is like my arteries. They're full, right? There ain't nothing getting through there. So it's just that kind of a deal where you're like, oh man. So today we got like 8 bikes left the shop today.
Yep.
And every time a bike would leave, I would swear to God, an angel would get its wings. I'd just be like, and the guy's like, can you help me load this up into my monster truck? Absolutely. Right there, sir.
Yep.
Hop to it.
So
we were busy.
Here's an idea for the listeners. So instead of buying that new set of pipes that you don't need or, whatever else like that, if you don't own one, a small trailer is a great thing to have.
Or
Yeah.
$26 at U-Haul.
Yep.
Okay, either way.
Yeah, $26 at U-Haul.
What a lot of people don't realize,
I'm a big fan of that.
even my dumb Hyundai Accent can pull a motorcycle. No problem.
Wait a second. When we strapped my Springer to your hint of a trailer,
Yeah, it worked fine.
that Springer was the operational structural load-bearing device on that trailer.
Yeah, at that point. But it did great. I mean, it's fucking fun.
It was amazing.
It was
little guy is
It was
fucking-
literally a stressed member.
It was. It was.
Like it was.
I'm
trailer
tightening
together.
ratchet straps, and I'm like, oh, the trailer's getting smaller.
Yeah, that's fun. Dude, that trailer's to the detriment of my car.
Right,
That I saw, this was like a year ago, I saw a sale on landscaping blocks. Mm-hmm. And it said only available online.
Oh,
and they were
okay.
like 60 cents a piece or something,
All right,
right?
yeah.
Dang.
So I'm like, okay, I need 2 per foot times thing.
Right.
I need about 300 of those things.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I order it, online for
Sure.
60 cents a piece. So it's $100, whatever it was,
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm all excited, and I drive down there, and the guy's like, "Oh, yeah, go over there, there's a stack." So I start one, and he's standing there. So we're 1, 2, 3, he's
Oh, yeah.
helping me.
Yeah.
So we get about 50 in, and I'm at level 2. And I'm like, So I'm like, let's put some in the car. So then I put them in the front
Jesus.
seat, in the back seat.
Oh, you distributed your load.
And then I went back to the trailer and I added 2 more things. So the trailer had about a half-inch of clearance between that and the fender wells.
And the stops.
And then my car
Yeah.
looked like I was, gonna go to the car show. Like my wheels were inside the fucking fenders. So I drove all the way home, and like I said, since then my transmission has been great. But the trailer, no problem.
No problem.
It's gone to Mid-Ohio with 3 bikes on that fucking thing and
Right.
2 in the back of a truck. I mean, that little guy's been. I mean, that's what my whole point of this though is that
Right.
like even if like you have a scooter or a
Right.
bike or a car or something.
Trailer's a handy thing to have around.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It makes it like you're not
really does.
when you're stranded, you're not really stranded. You know what I
No.
mean? You just need a ride home to get your shit and
To
then
get your
come back.
trailer.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
No, it's.
Yeah.
I've always said I carry AAA, and if that fails, Uber.
Right.
I will Uber off an
That's absolutely
interstate
true.
and then go get my stuff.
Yeah, right.
The last topic, though, before we boogie the fuck out of here, because last week we ran long. Last week we gave them
340
1 3/4
245,
podcast.
yeah,
We gave them bonus podcast last week. So where are we at right now?
121. So
Yeah, we're good.
It's not a
Yeah, we generally shoot for 3, 2, so we're good. All right.
you can't give her all 6 every week.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Can you? So let's talk for a second about the reallocation of assets
Yes.
from my showroom to your garage.
Yeah.
So how have you been enjoying the Springer?
Well, I've yet to enjoy it, but I've been enjoying working on it.
Right.
I mean, it didn't mean much, whatever. But
Well, I think the best thing was the fact that it started.
yeah, that was good.
Oh yeah.
But I've gone, and so Steve came over, and we snorted around, and we checked all the fluids. So basically, not used him. He came over and helped me because I've never had one before. I wanted to know where all the things were, like
Right.
where are the oil orifices, and the fact that it has multiple and different fluids.
Oh, a lot of them.
Yeah, it's not a Japanese motorcycle.
Oh, no,
at
no,
all,
no,
You know,
no.
so that was interesting. I fixed the mirrors already and got rid of the flames on all that. There's no more flames on mirrors.
There's no more sharp, stabby, break your face fucking mirrors.
But you know what's funny that I never noticed until I started just fucking around with the thing? They went through a lot of effort to put flames. I did not notice that the shifter shaft is also a set of CNC'd flames.
It's long flames.
Long flames. Yeah.
Long flames. There may be flames that we never get off that motorcycle.
Right.
But I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because
If they're hidden and subtle.
Yeah, so that was good, and then I mounted the Tombstone tail light on there that was in there, and it's a much nicer addition. It's not going to wiggle and flop. Used a couple of the other lights that were laying in there and made them into running lights and tail lights. So now you can actually, people behind you will know that you're doing things.
Right.
So a Tesla will actually see you at 30 yards now.
Right. And I've just been going through it. But I will say this: I was pushing it on the stand, and I got it, and I thought it was completely on it, but the back wheel must have been on the precipice, and it started to lean on me, and I was like, oh my God. And I started to push it back, and I got it back upright, and I got it on the stand, but I mean, like, I think you get these bursts of strength about once every 3 years.
When the bus is on your daughter.
Yeah. So, like, I had, like, the special needs strength for, like, that one thing to put the bike back up. And so the adrenaline was kicking and everything like that. And, I got it secured and everything like that. I was like, whew, okay.
Yeah.
And, I fucked around the
lived
rest
through
of
that.
Yeah, and I fucked around the rest of the day in the garage. Well, let me just tell you, that was last night. I woke up this morning after a nice sleep. And the alarm went off at 6, and I jumped up to go to work, and I stepped out of bed, and I tried to straighten my back.
Yeah, you stretched.
Oh, my fucking
You stretched it
God.
all out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you stretched all of it out. So, yeah, I'll just, I'll just so the folks at home can see what it looks like in all its glory right now. So, yeah, it's pretty, it is definitely one of those things where you're like, this is a big motorcycle.
It's heavy.
It's a heavy motorcycle, right? This is a heavy motorcycle.
No. As we talked about last time, they're not heavy. But as we talked about today, they're not
awkward.
Very well balanced.
They're not distributed.
Well, if not heavy is 709 pounds in your book, what is heavy?
What is heavy?
Because I thought my Africa Twin was heavy, and this thing definitely surpasses that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I have noticed one of the things, that front tire makes the bike.
It does.
If it had the 21-inch pizza cutter thing, it would be horrible. It'd just be. It looked like I'd have to move to fucking Westlake or something like that. Or not Westlake, Mentor.
The point of the 21-inch pizza cutter is not to handle well. It's just to look like a jackass at bike night.
Yeah, and that's every time I've had a Softail. So the Softail comes in many different ways, but the Softail that is the Softail that is the criminal Softail is the Softail Standard. The STI. It's fuel injected Softail Standard, and that's the one that has the little 15-inch wheel on the back and the 21-inch pizza cutter on the front. And they're not good.
No.
And they are. You don't ever want to stop in a hurry on those, because the front will just completely cave.
Right.
Like, the front just goes away.
I'm sensing this, and I'm sure it's going to be like this, because I remember my V-Star was kind of like that, and I'm sure the V-Star weighed like 700 pounds. I think what makes these things so nice about riding on freeways and stuff is I think you could go past a truck and it won't give a fuck.
No, that's many people say, like, it feels very stable and planted.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's because it's fucking heavy. It's not, there's no fucking
cinch.
mystery there.
But on this, can you go past two other Harley riders and not get pushed around?
Oh, that's a good question.
Sure it is.
I think I just have to throw up the is there like a universal brotherhood sign? Like
brothers.
I think you got to do the, some people wave and they're like, hey, what's up with that? But then you get the other guys, they're real serious. And they
Two fingers down.
Like that. I think that's what you got to do. If you go past, you have to go like this and then like respect.
Look super angry.
Yeah.
Brother. Super angry. Super angry.
Well, we'll have to have a report next time.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
There on what, 10 or 20 or wherever you were?
Yeah. It was on 20.
As we're delving into affordable Harleys now, which is a really weird concept.
Well, that's the thing. So I was looking up windscreens because if I'm going to commute to work, I was thinking about getting a windscreen, and slapping it on there. And you can find used ones for like $45.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're.
Well, I have a windscreen at the shop.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Did you notice it has spools on it?
That's my point. Like, so I thought that was really neat too.
Yeah.
How easy it is to come on and off. So there's a lot.
I have a quick disconnect windshield for that bike at my shop. Okay.
There are
Enough of that discussion.
Well, no, but but what I was going to say,
catalogs of parts for this thing that, what was this? 57? When did this come out? 46?
The Springer?
Yeah.
Well, the first time?
Yeah.
Then there was a 40-year gap where they quit making them.
And
then they brought them out again.
60 years of this damn thing. There are parts galore.
There are a lot of things, and Steve kind of enlightened me on this. There are a lot of things on this that just make a lot more sense than so this is what I think. So when you start fucking around with these Harleys and start getting into the hardware and the mechanics and stuff of them, you realize that a lot of it makes sense. A lot of it you can tell is like 60 years of doing something and then figuring out that works. We're going to stick with it, right?
Right.
But you can also see, I don't know if it's on purpose or not, that it was like the Harley engineers. They made it to like 11th grade and they were like, we're good. Like, this is where we need to be. Where like the Japanese engineers, they're like all the way up through their PhDs and
Right.
like whatever. It's like there is a different level of engineering going into like a Japanese bike compared to this thing.
So many, many, many years ago, I prototyped a particular intake for a particular motorcycle. We wanted to put a different carburetor on it. So I was doing some CAD, cardboard assisted design.
Right.
So I had gotten layers and layers of cardboard, and I'd stacked up layers of cardboard so I could X-Acto knife, because 3D printing didn't exist yet at my budget.
Right.
Right. And so I was taking X-Acto knife and cardboard and making a 3-dimensional manifold 1/4 inch of cardboard at a time. And layering it up.
Smart.
So I'd laminated and made this whole thing up. And I was like, okay. And so once I had it fit and the carburetor went where the carburetor had to go, and I had the basic size I needed to go from a 35 millimeter to a 40 millimeter carburetor on this particular motorcycle, I was like, okay, cool, we got that. So now we had the general shape of it. So then I was like, cardboard is not a very good medium, right? For many reasons. So I took a block O wood.
Sure.
And for the life of me, I wish that I remembered to this day what kind of wood it was. But I don't know. It's a tree carcass. It just was wood. So I took the wood and I started cutting on the wood with a Dremel tool. And I started shaping the wood until I had replicated my cardboard aided design piece. And I had the shape that I wanted. And I was like, okay. Put that in the motorcycle. Had the holes where the holes had to be. Put some bolts through it. Had the cardboard on there, or had the carburetor on there, and went, and made some modifications. So we made some modifications and we did it. We checked it all out. And I was like, this works good. So then I was able to grind down the inside of it and bevel it and match the ports the way they needed to be. And I was like, because if I can make it in wood, then I can give it to a company that can scan it or do whatever they got to do, or they can make a mold off of it.
Sure.
And then in a very short period of time, I'll have it in metal or something that's not wood. And so I was like, okay, great. And so I had the whole thing on. I was like, that actually looks great. And after my 5th or 6th modification, I put it on there. And I am not a smart person when it comes down to it. So I said, I should see if it runs.
And
I mean, it probably ran.
It started up beautifully. It started perfectly. And the mysterious carb, I had only done the jetting in it that I kind of figured, let's throw something to the wall and see if it'll stick kind of thing, because nobody had ever put a 40 millimeter carb on this particular bike before. So I was like, okay, let's just do this. And I had this 40 mil carb on there, and it's a Mikuni, and it's a flat slide, and it's wonderful. So I knew the carb was a good carb, but the jetting was purely rando. It's okay. But I started, and the bike started up first fucking kick. And I was like, oh, you have to ride this. Because you can just tell people, I rode a motorcycle with a wooden carburetor intake. Right. And I rode it around the neighborhood, and it did fucking remarkably well.
Until it got soaked or fucked. I mean, it's doing what it's supposed to do.
It was doing its job.
Yeah, right.
What'll last
It
really
was
long
kind of
time.
remarkable.
It's not porous.
It was gas treated.
Yeah.
So gas treated lumber. And after riding around the neighborhood a little bit, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, like it actually runs really good. There wasn't much to do but fine tuning at that point. So I got the thing back at the house and I yoinked it off. The gasoline on the wood had done wonders for its shape, its texture. It was no longer remotely the same shape it was when I'd cut it, and that it had been molested by the bolts in the carburetor, just kind of sunk into it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy. So I had to make another one. So I whittled out another one. And I mean, I was decent with Pinewood Derby, so I was pretty much equipped for this. And then I got it and I sent it off to our guys that have done some, fabrication for us. And when I sent it to him, he looks at it and he goes, wood. And I went, yeah, wood. And he goes, oh boy. And I said, well, do you want me to, if you want, I'll get the alginate and I'll make a mold myself. Right. So you can have a mold, because I hope that's what you're going to do and everything else. And he's like, no, man, we have laser scanners and CAD CAM printing now. What is this? You brought me a piece of wood. And I'm like, yeah, just do that.
Just do that.
And so when he finally got me the actual unit, and I mean, at my shop right now, I have a kickstart lever. You were talking about we're just going to make a head.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just going to make a head. I have a kickstart lever at my shop, one kickstart lever, that I spent $1,600 on. That's what it costs to make one prototype when your buddy runs the shop.
Yeah, right.
And you're just paying for actual machine time and the billet, right? I got all kinds of parts at my shop that are one of something that cost thousands of dollars, and they don't even have a moving part to them.
Right.
They're just static. So when you talk about a head that's got all these moving parts in it, I'm like, oh, you got some shit to learn. That carburetor intake mount that I made, when he gave it back to me, he goes, I just want you to try this. Yeah. So it was just rough cut. It was pretty square. And I put it on. Everything lined up great. Put it on. So he gave me some O-rings to try out. Put the O-rings on. It was fucking good. It worked. Took the bike out. Ran it. I mean, I ran the fuck out of it. We brought it in. We put it up on his dyno. We threw it on the dyno. We're like, oh, yeah, this is the carb's good. Exhaust is good. This is awesome. And I was like, that's fantastic. And I was like, great. I want 200 of them. Like, I'll sell them at motorcycle shows and stuff like that. Lots of people have SR500. It's a very popular motorcycle. People will buy these because it's going from a carburetor that doesn't exist anymore to a carburetor that is available at Cleveland Carburetor Company, at Sudco, and all these other places. And he did it. And when he gave it back to me, it looked amazing. He went to the 12th year. He didn't quit at 11 years.
Right.
He made it look amazing. Yeah. Well, the Harley-Davidson guys never got the memo that it had to be light. Right?
Right.
They didn't.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, well, if having this much metal on makes it stronger, can we add things to it to make it prettier, but it still will support? And this is why I will say, if something on a Harley-Davidson is thick, it's because it has to be. Mm-hmm. The two people that showed up to my shop today were riding a Harley-Davidson Street Glide with everything on it. I mean, everything on it. He was 3 1/4. She was 250. The amount of extra shit, just chrome extra shit, was easily 300 pounds.
Damn.
That motorcycle is not rated, as best as I know, for 900 pounds over its curb weight.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we can look it up. But I do not think that if you take him and you take her and you take all their goober shit on there, stereo systems, extra seats, like all the other crap they had on there, that was easily 300 pounds. There's no doubt in my mind it was 300 pounds. I've put those Harley-Davidson saddlebags on. I know how heavy they are. Yeah. I've put the Harley-Davidson top cases on. I know how heavy they are. The Harley-Davidson Batwing Ferry, I know how heavy it is. Yeah. I know how heavy the stereo is. They were way over the weight limit. And when he got on that motorcycle, he stood on that foot peg and trusted that jiffy stand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And when he got on that bike, the bike went, oh! And then when she got on the bike went, not again! And that's why Harley-Davidson does what Harley-Davidson does.
Did it scrape leaving the...
It scraped coming in. It scraped getting on. It scraped getting off. He's one of those guys, the saddlebags weren't low enough, so he got those extra long saddlebags, the boxes, that are extra long. So even if your bike isn't lowered, it looks like you lowered it.
Right.
Yeah. So
you know what my favorite part of the bike is? Even my wife was like, whoa, is the fucking, the foldable arrow. Like if you're going to ride at the racetrack, you're going to do the Circles of America. The passenger pegs, when you fold them down, they're arrow.
I know.
So like you can take the other parts and flip them out, and they stick out about 4 feet on each side. And
you know why it does that, right?
Well, so you can be comfortable.
It's so your passenger can spread her legs further.
No, I get it.
I'm not joking.
No, I get it.
I'm not joking.
You have to understand something about Harley-Davidson's marketing.
They are outriggers.
Yeah,
and, 100%.
And all of the relationships around Harley-Davidson marketing, so even if it's like 3rd degree or 5th degree separated from Harley's marketing, is one of these days you're going to be at a strip club and you're actually going to take the stripper home.
I don't know. I just sense that if you put those down on the highway, they would help keep you straight. Because they have an airfoil to them. They're literally pretty airfoily.
In every single God, I hate to even do this, but we're gonna get demonetized on this one. This is just it. Remember I was riding Tom. I was like, Tom, we just can't. This podcast isn't just about shitting on Harley Davidson,
right? Well, hey, look, we have totally said now that they're $2,000 cheaper, it's a great bargain.
The Harley Davidson items de art, right? The Harley Davidson objects of art,
yeah,
like the stuff that exists in the Harley Davidson world, they do not have a slender Harley Davidson yard gnome.
I don't understand how Harley riders can like. I've met a bunch of, like I said, I worked at a Harley shop for a while. Well, a Harley centric shop for a long time, and some of the guys
Harley
really
Curious.
do. Harley Curious, a big dog shop for a while, and some of the guys have a decent sense of humor. Like they're good. They're good guys. They're all funny and everything else. And some of the people take way too damn serious. They really do. And that's that's
Steve was explaining earlier about how he was castigated for just simply wanting to pass a slow moving vehicle.
Yeah.
Right. And that, something as innocuous as we are literally, I'm going to use the road in the legal fashion for which the road was meant.
Yeah, and let's just clarify. I wasn't passing between them in their lane, near them. It was a 2-lane highway, and they were in the fast lane going 50,
right,
and I was in the slow lane going 60,
right,
and I passed them in my lane, not fucking with them at all.
Exactly, right, exactly. And that, how do you put it? That fucks it up. That does fuck it up. There is no getting around the fact that particular behavior of that operator, of that rider, club or no club, and I honestly don't give a fuck, the fact that he's in a club, if he wants to be in Hell's Satan's and be in the biggest club in the world and just be like, our club is so big that no cop would ever fuck with us. Okay. Let's not talk about the cops. If you have an adversarial relationship with them, you have chosen to get onto America's highways on your motorcycle. You are such a fucking conformist that you have a license plate on the back of it.
Yep.
All right?
Right.
There's even dipshits in Iowa that have the...
Okay. Sons of Freedom, right? Whatever, right? But anyway, he's riding a motor vehicle on a legal roadway. If he was riding through people's yards, then I might say, you go. You bold fucking individual. But he was riding on a state route.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's riding on a state route on a vehicle that's probably got a license plate on the back of it, right? And he was in the slow lane.
Fast lane.
Fast lane. Okay, so now he's breaking the law.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's there and he's doing some speed, less than the fast lane warrants.
Yeah.
Left lane's for crimes,
And he was
buddy.
also parked in the
Right.
fast lane.
Left lane is for crimes.
Right.
So you passed him?
Yeah, and not even like I didn't pass them like, ha, boo.
No.
I was doing 60, they were doing
passed
50.
them.
I just passed them.
Right, but he chose to make that an actionable event.
Oh yeah, they sped up, they were swerving at me, yelling at me.
So when somebody decides to make that an actionable event,
Yeah.
well, that's where you have to say, okay, now you can just fuck right off. Right?
Oh, I agree.
Now you can fuck right off. Because the way I'm going to carry that in my head is, now I'm going to be a little extra vigilant, right?
Right.
And so if I see a guy out riding, and it's not like he had 27 of his friends and they were being a wall of motorcycles.
It was two club brothers going home from probably a club meeting.
They had been out all night.
Yeah.
They'd been beating their old lady.
And
Now
I
they're going home
I
to their
left the
mistress.
podcast, so it was probably 11:30. You know what I mean? So it's a good like weekday bar night get out time.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm sure it was all that wrapped up into it. But yeah, whatever.
They were running boner pills.
Again, though,
I can't even say they're running meth anymore because boner pills are more
But
money.
here's something, and we kind of discussed this before, but this is what I think's happening because of all these cheaper Harleys now.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the very affordability of Harleys.
right.
So
It's going to take away a fucking lot of that gatekeeper shit.
Yeah.
it is because, dude, I noticed. So
Yeah.
I did a video about the Harley, right?
Right, yeah.
And the views are like 4 times, 5 times normal.
Absolutely.
The comments are 5 times. So I think there are a lot of people out there
Right.
that aren't falling for the typical Harley bullshit.
Yeah.
That are getting Harleys now. Like, not that there weren't before, but I mean, like, more now that they're affordable though. Like when you were a 22-year-old kid 10 years ago. The cheapest fucking Sportster was 10 grand, $7 grand.
What was
whatever.
Honda's magic pill that got them into, at the time,
Meet the friendliest people.
the largest motorcycle market that they weren't in before, in a country where they were challenged because they were Japan.
Right.
And a lot of people in America remembered 1944, right? A lot of people in America said, I ain't never buying one of them fucking rice burners.
Right.
A lot of people said, my grandfather
Died or whatever.
died on Iwo Jima or whatever. There's a lot of reason for Jewish people not to buy Mercedes and for American people not to buy Hondas. Right. And that's fine. So they had a lot to overcome. And they didn't do it by trying to play the Harley game. They did not do what they did so well in the 80s. In the 80s, Honda copied Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
But in the 60s, Honda said, we are not going to copy Harley Davidson. We are going to the dead opposite. And that concept of we are not 1%ers, we are 99%ers. We do want to say, literally, you meet the nicest people riding a Honda. And that was so in your face that it got people that said, I will never ride a motorcycle because I am not a scary person.
Right.
I don't want to be a scary person. So I am not going to ride a motorcycle. But then we see a woman in a pencil skirt riding a red Honda Super Cub. Well, that's kind of hard to ignore. Right? And then when all of a sudden you see Clint Eastwood, who at the time was the most charismatic young actor in Hollywood, and he rucks up and he's on a Honda Dream. Well, look at
placement.
What's that? Yeah.
Oh,
there's a reason that when they were filming anywhere, the Honda truck would show up and distribute a whole flock of Hondas for the people to ride around the set on. There's a reason I have a book at home of every fucking actor you've ever heard of in 1956 to 1965 sitting on Vespas. Because they would take them to where they were shooting. John Wayne sitting there on a Vespa, right? They didn't say, Mr. Wayne, come over here. Would you sit on this Vespa to promote our product? They said, would you like to ride around the studio on this? And he said, well, I don't think that'll be a problem at all. And they knew it, and they sent photographers out, and they got all these very famous people riding Vespas around.
I wonder if the photographers weren't like in a bush with like a long range.
No. You see these pictures I've got. They made a series of postcards on them. You look at these, and you are like, wow, these people are legitimately thrilled to be on this scooter. And it's cool. Jackie Dickinson is like,
but I wonder if they
sexy.
got anything. Like, did they just get the scooter? Because nowadays you'd be like, well, I need $4 million, and
yeah, I have no idea.
Back then they were probably like, I get a free scooter.
I have
now
no
Justin
idea.
Bieber has to have an entire line.
Right.
Well, but to the Honda thing, there's so much media from the mid '60s, and I collect all of it that have this perfect idea of like, hey, look, the Beach Boys did.
Little Honda.
Little Honda. Yeah. Right? Hey, Little Honda.
It was the takeoff of the Ronda.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like that kind of a thing, man, none of the Beach Boys were threatening to buy a Harley Davidson.
Nope. And here's the other thing. Think about the forward thinking of Honda. Yeah. They actually, like, especially in the 60s, they were promoting a motor vehicle to women directly.
Absolutely.
That's like insane for like American culture. They didn't they're like, oh, you can have a washing machine.
Harley Davidson didn't promote Harley Davidsons to women this year.
Right. You're right. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. 100%.
I'm waiting. Show me the Harley Davidson advertisement.
Right.
That is targeting ladies.
Yeah, no.
Because I've not
I've
seen one.
Harley advertisements with ladies in them.
I have too.
Yeah.
They're usually accessory number, right, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're still using the same marketing strategy today that they used in 1986.
Yeah.
They've tried other ones in between, but they've gone back to heritage. Mm-hmm. They've gone back to heritage. And that only works, right, so often. The guy that was in my shop today was talking about like, oh yeah, he loved his Harley and it was the greatest thing in the world. And I said, well, what year did you buy your Harley? Like, when did this Harley you love so much? What year did you buy it? He said, well, 93. I said, well, hold on. Do you still have that Harley? Mm-hmm. He goes, oh, no. Are you going to buy another Harley Davidson? He goes, I'm 77 years old. There's no chance in hell I'm going to buy another Harley Davidson. He says, but I would. And I was like, oh, okay, that's ineffective marketing. When the guy who literally cannot use your product wants your product, but he can't have your product, that's ineffective marketing.
Yeah, you're wasting money.
Well, the German guy that came into Harley Davidson that tried desperately to bring on the live wire and to make people want to buy things like the twin headlight Super Bob and a liquid-cooled Harley Davidson, right? That guy was fucking fired.
Yeah, quickly.
And he was replaced by a guy who says, okay, guys, shareholders, deep breath. We're not doing that anymore. We're going back to heritage. And all the shareholders went, oh, and they raised their canes in the air and tapped them on the ground. So that's what, huzzah!
Did you watch,
Wait. Harumph.
I didn't get a rump out of him.
I didn't get a rump out of that guy.
Did you watch the thing I sent over? It's a clip from Meekum, and it's
Yes.
road glide and a couple
wide.
of things. Beautiful, like
Yeah.
1996, like perfect 2 miles road
Yeah.
glide. This guy, that
you
was
know-
his retirement plan. He was thinking, I'm getting 50 grand for this fucking thing.
Yep.
$4,300.
I'm sorry. Did you say Meekum?
Yeah.
Meekum.
You did. Okay, hold on. Let me think about that. Give me 1 second. Okay, Meekum. How many people are in the audience at Meekum? 2,300.
Yeah.
Okay. Of the 23 people in the audience at Meekum, how many of those 2,300 people are old white men?
Probably a lot of them, right?
You say 2,300?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see too many 25-year-old guys at Meekum.
No.
Right? So who is Meekum designed for?
People dumb enough to pay $10,000 for a
nostalgia
Vesper.
kind of shit
So the-
type buyers.
Out of 2,500 people in the audience at Meekum, if we say 90% of them are over the age of 60, because I see who's buying the cars.
Right.
Right? Everybody in the audience has a nicer Harley than that.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean,
Now, how many Harleys do the guys at Meekum need to have? One.
Right.
Yep.
Because they have 65 Corvette Stingray, they got a 57 Mer.
But it was pretty interesting. Like they pulled about 3 or 4 of them across the stage,
Yep.
didn't do shit.
They all did
even
shit.
had
no.
a V rod that was like the dude probably put 50 grand into it and it didn't sell.
And
No,
he didn't
it
get
didn't.
over fucking 8 grand
Because Harley Davidson people will still not admit the existence of the V-Rod.
Right.
for it. Right.
It was the best Harley ever built.
Wait, I'm
and
sorry. Did you say
nobody wants
liquid
it.
cooling?
Yeah. Right.
You know it's only 1,000 cc's.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just
That's
funny.
that's girl bike territory.
Yeah.
Come on. 1,000 cc's?
Take it. I'd take it for a little ride.
Oh, come on, man. Did you see that thing?
Yeah.
It's got a plastic gas tank. Yeah. Fucking the way that Brotherhood people
Brother.
react to V-Rods
Yeah.
is one of my most, there was a big period in my life where I was like, I'm going to get a V-Rod and I'm just going to cause people on not V-Rods, but Harley Davidsons, to crash. That's my job. I'm going to go to the bar. I'm going to hang out at the bar with $100 bills hanging in my pockets and just say, hey, is that your fat boy? Want to race?
Yeah.
Hey, is that your Screaming Eagle? Want to race? Yeah. Hey, that's your CVO Ultra? 140 horsepower? Want to race?
Yeah.
And all my job would just be to eliminate those people and those motorcycles from the planet, one at a time, and make their families rich because Dad finally died. Right? Exactly. The kids are finally going to get some fucking attention because the asshole has been out polishing his Harley for the past 40 fucking years. Is gone. And every kid that grew up with that fucking Harley is going to be like, never going to clean those spokes again, you fuck. Yeah, that's it. Because I know a lot of kids that grew up in Harley households
Yeah.
where the kid didn't know shit about shit, but he knew which Meguiar's product to use on spokes.
Yeah.
These kids, after a lifetime of working on Dad's motorcycle, were the best detailers in the industry.
Actually, that leads into a really good job, though, because if you can detail, man, that's money.
If your dad was the Harley Davidson guy and you were out there detailing that bike so Dad could go out on Saturday,
Yeah.
you probably didn't end up in a real high level of occupation. Probably not doing so great. I was that kid for a while. Yeah, I got dragged to a lot of car shows against my will.
Dad's going to bring home a new mom, though.
And I applied a lot of Simonize I didn't sign on for just so the car could leave the fucking driveway. That thing doesn't leave the driveway until it's got a fresh coat of wax on it. We're going to the Crawford Auto Museum show, and we want this thing to look good. Why? Why? Why does it need to be shiny?
A 73 Chrysler Imperial has to shine from space.
Why does it need to have 6 white wall tires? 2 of them are spares, and they're covered by metal. And why am I cleaning them? Because you're 12, and that's what 12-year-olds do.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. Don't know it. Don't need it. And that's why when I go to car shows now, people are like, oh my God, look at that thing. And they're sitting in their lawn chair,
Yeah.
right? Behind the car.
Dude, that's the best.
And I'm just like, you suck.
Dude, I've seen at Summit,
Yeah.
when we have, like during the summer, there's like once a month they have a big Summit car show.
Yeah.
Starts at 5.
Comes with a folding camp chair and a pair of New Balance shoes.
It does, but the dudes show up at 2.
I know they do.
Because they want to get underneath the tree.
They want to get the good
shade.
spot.
Yeah,
they want the 2 spots under the trees.
It's fucking amazing, man.
I go to these car
this is
shows.
Alan Wolf, and you're gonna listen to everything from the fucking 50s, whether you like it or not.
Well, we discussed this. So we went.
The fact they have to bring their own DJs and the fact that they pay DJs to be there, that's a crime.
But let me ask you this. So, like, I don't know if we
because none of them have Bluetooth.
We talked about this at work. So when we were in Reno for Hot August Nights.
Yeah.
You have 60,000 70-year-old dudes with their $100,000 hot rods.
Yes.
That most of them haven't built themselves.
Right.
There were some guys that did.
Who cares?
But anyways,
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, paychecks are paychecks.
They still had giant stages with, I'm not kidding you, 75-year-old ladies in poodle skirts.
Right.
Doing doo-wop with like Elvis that's 90 now. Okay.
Yeah.
So when is the peak? Like, because
That's the après car show.
right, but
Right.
I'm saying, but like, how many of these people are left? Like, how long? Like, because soon, in another 10 years,
Right.
the 70-year-olds, their classic rock is
yeah.
like 70s music.
Yeah.
So like, we're gonna skip over the 60s apparently.
No, somehow doo-wop has managed to hang in there.
Yeah.
And that poodle skirts and 50s music is still absolutely the soundtrack of that culture, even though scientifically the people that were doing that are 120 years old right now.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
is there going to be a peak of fucking doo-wop in that scene? Are we going to get like the Allman Brothers? Are we
Well,
going to walk
no.
in and fucking?
Are there?
No, you won't.
Right.
But because the cars that they're driving
Right.
are all built around
Exactly,
the
1955,
50s. Yeah.
right.
So
But right,
why
but-
why would they play Allman Brothers when they're
Because nobody
everybody's a-
that's at the show was ever
It's
around
all-
a fucking soda shop.
Sleepy. You're
make
missing
any
the point.
difference.
It's
Because
cosplay.
it's period correct cosplay.
Oh, it's
cosplay.
So if your car's a 55, right, then your wife has to be dressed like 1955. Your trailer needs to look like 1955. Your radio can only play music from 1955.
Yep.
And you drink Coca-Cola and you eat cheeseburgers, and that's what you do. Everything is
Okay,
1955.
well, let me do this then.
Yeah.
So let's do that then. So if the cosplay is all about the years, I guarantee you that the 60s and 70s cars
Right.
far overtake the 50s cars at these shows now.
Well, yeah,
so
no,
why
they
aren't
do.
they playing fucking 70s? Jimi Hendrix should be fucking everywhere.
But I'm gonna argue that perhaps the iconic car of the car show culture
It's still the 50s.
is still the 57 Chevy Bel Air.
All right.
Now,
So as long as that's Godzilla, right? Everything else is going to be an also ran. Everything else is going to be a weekly, the foil of the week, right?
that does
having
make sense.
attended is, I mean, Radwood's all about the 80s, right?
Yes, 80s and early 90s.
So
yeah.
they're going to be the.
It's exactly what it is. When you go to Radwood, they lean hard into the 80s and 90s.
Talking into the end again.
Oh, God damn it.
I looked back and I looked
fucking
back and
guy.
I looked back and I don't know how it happened, but his microphone had actually gone limp.
It really does.
It really did go limp.
Does. Like, I'm not even touching the thing, and it just does.
Yeah, but you can refund the nut a little harder and it'll stay upright.
Well, let me put it this
So
way. If you
it-
have your headphones on and it
So
sounds
if you
like
go
you're
to a
talking
Corvette
into
show,
potato,
Yeah.
if you go to a Corvette show, you're not going to be hearing 50s music. Okay, so that's where you might hear.
I don't know,
Right.
dude. I go to car shows for my job.
I got a
all
car.
I hear is 50s every fucking car
and I
show.
do have to tell you that when we would go to car shows, particular car shows, pre-war car shows.
Yeah.
So we would go to because the cars my dad collected were pre-war cars.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go to pre-war car shows. And at pre-war car shows, well, you know, it was
swing and stuff.
It was the Benny Goodman Orchestra. That was all that stuff was going because they were period correct. They wanted the music to be the same. People tend to dress a little bit from that era, middle like gangster look and that kind of shit.
See, but that makes sense because if it's a pre-war, now you're defining the period. So
Well,
now
that's
I
exactly what a
expect-
57 Chevy.
Yeah, see.
No, but see, these hot rod
contradicting
shows,
yourself.
there's
Yeah.
too many.
And
Like,
Chris,
it's
and
not
like-
just 50s shows.
No, I know. No.
Cars.
Okay.
There's a lot more 70s cars and even 80s cars.
I go
now
to
at
them
these
too.
shows. Yeah.
I go to them too. The Godzilla, though.
Yeah.
The daddy.
Yeah.
The guy who wins all the awards.
Yeah.
You could have your GTO judge sitting out there circa 1972. And it could be the perfect orange GTO judge ever. 100-point car.
Mm-hmm.
The trophy's going to go to the guy with the 57 Bel Air or the 59 Cadillac Biarritz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every fucking time.
You know what else I found interesting about some of these dudes?
Yeah.
So like I have to interview guys, so I'm looking for the guy that's like
Right.
I handmade that No,
Of course, right. Yeah.
So I find those.
He's the
guys-
interesting guy.
He's the guy because he
Right.
can tell you about every square
Of
inch of the
course.
car.
Well, that dude with the Mustang with the Hemi, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, how dare you put a Dodge motor in a Mustang?" And you like found him, and he was like, "No, I built this car way back in the fucking day."
When you go to
Yeah,
a car show
yeah.
and the guy's
Oh, yeah.
busting out the bag of mirrors out of his trunk and laying the mirrors under his car.
Oh, God.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, no, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
So like, there's dudes like this one car was fucking beautiful, man. Like
Right.
everything was hidden, like easily $120,000
Sure.
car, right? And done right,
Right.
And tasteful and not
Right.
stupid and everything. And I go up to the guy. This guy's hammered. He's sitting behind his car in his fucking lawn chair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey man, I'm from Summit Racing. We'd love to feature your car in this video we're doing. Can I talk to you about it? Yeah, I guess so. All right. Well, how long did this build take? It took 5 years to build. I'm like, okay. Well, what did you? I don't know anything about it.
Right.
I just own it. I'm like,
Right.
why are you even here then? Like, why are you sitting here? Like, you just leave your fucking car, go do something. Like, come back to it. Like, because everybody there, when they come up
Maybe.
to talk to the guy, they're going to ask him about the car. His answer is, I just bought it. I don't know.
Look,
It's fucking ridiculous.
my dad dragged me to these fucking things for like 11 years.
You
I'm
weren't
going
getting
to
paid.
promise you. I'm going to promise you. If you slice that scene and slice it, you're going to find guys that are hiding from their wives.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I got to go to the car show. What?
They don't golf.
They don't golf. They got that fucking thing. They don't want to break it. They're not going to drive it fast. They're going to go to the show. They've got 7 or 8 people there. They've probably been in the scene so long that the car club that they used to be in has consumed itself with hate several times over.
it's split into 3 different groups.
He's no longer allowed to park next to half of the guys in his old club anymore.
Yeah.
He's been moved around the thing. When I went
You're right.
last year, when I took the hearse, the big fuck off Mercedes hearse,
Yeah.
I took it to a car show by my house, and I rolled in there, and I roll in there, and first of all, it's a fucking parade. That car is a parade.
Yeah, by itself.
It's a
Oh, yeah.
79 Gold Dragon Salute.
Yep.
Right? And I pull in there, and everybody's like, oh, ooh, wow, oh, that's great. And I got there about, 2 hours after it started, which is like 5 hours late.
Right.
And I roll in, and I'm, oh, I see a spot. So I go over, I see the spot. I'm getting lined up. Hey, you can't go in there. Why? That's Dave's spot. Oh, shit. Is Dave behind me? No, Dave's not behind you. That's his spot.
Dave's not here, man.
And I was like, well, is there any reason I can't pull in there? Because it's Dave's spot. Okay, stop. I'm going to roll the tape back. Where the fuck is Dave?
Yeah.
Well, that's his spot. Okay. Is Dave going to be here? We're pretty sure.
And like, there was no other spots, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's only just this one.
There were like, this was one. This was a spot, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how do you know Dave's going to be here? And they went, because he's always here. And I went, oh yeah, different society, different rules.
Yeah.
This is not where I live. I do not know the rules here. So I backed the fuck up and I went around, and I have about 75 people, I didn't know this, behind me. Because now I have people that want desperately to ask me stupid questions about my car. And the longer it takes me to park, the more questions they're going to have.
Right. So this dude just hosed you.
So I got to make another. So I make another lap, and I find a spot a little further away. So I found a spot a little further away, and I park my car. And I have little pieces of paper on my car that answer the 12 dumb questions the people always ask about my car. It's pronounced hearse, not Hurst. They make transmissions, right? It's not haunted.
Right.
Whatever. It's a Mercedes. It came from Japan. La, la, la. Whatever. The back doors are open. You're free to look inside and take pictures, right? And I put these pieces of paper on the front window and the side windows, and then I leave.
Yeah.
I'll have somebody pick me up. I will go to a restaurant. I will unask the AO. Why? Because I don't like talking to people about stupid shit I'm not interested in for
especially
the 7,300th time.
Yeah.
Right?
That's about it.
So rather than be there and let them pick up on any of my saltiness, because I'm already in an environment I don't like, that I had to live through when I was a child, and I got a little PTSD from it.
Plus, Dave showed up.
Well, and he may show up at any moment.
Right.
But I always will tastefully have this car is for sale, and if you'd like to make an offer on the vehicle above $10,000, this is the phone number, right? I just put that on there and leave it. Because this way, for the guys that are like, hey, what do you think that's worth, Dave? Oh, that's worth $40,000. It literally says, if you'd like to make an offer over $10,000, call this number. So now we've solved that problem.
Right.
And again, if somebody's like, oh, for $10,000, oh my God, I could buy that, whatever. I'm like, well, let me feel the fiber of your fabric, motherfucker.
Right.
Step up.
We should step your game up and make a cardboard cutout of you.
Right.
And a little Raspberry Pi, and it goes, this is a hearse.
This is a hearse.
It's from
This
Japan.
is Japan. And I do this because I need to sell the cars. I buy cars to sell cars. I don't buy cars because I need more cars. I don't need more cars, but I need to sell cars. So to me, one of the places where I've always found a good opportunity to sell a car is a place where the guy in the car next to me just spent more money on the upholstery in his car than the car I'm driving.
Right.
Right? That's a target-rich environment. When the guy buys a pedal car for $10,000 to match his show car, him spending $10,000 on a hearse to just be the punchline of a joke, if I can do it at my income level, they can do it at their income level.
This was a lesson, what you kind of just described was a huge learning lesson that I had many years ago now. But so when I had first opened my record stores and all the things back in the day, I always did markets that nobody had money.
Right.
Like a bunch of raver kids. That
you
are
don't go where the
19.
poor people are.
No.
I should have fucking just like come up with an interesting golfing shirt or something
Yes,
like that.
absolutely.
Because those motherfuckers have money.
Sleepy. Do you know how many bands? Do you know how many bands that toured in the '90s now have embroidered golf shirts?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm
like,
sorry.
With their logo.
They have cruise wear.
Yes.
My children.
They have cruise in.
I know, that's why they have cruise wear.
So I've been really working hard at bestowing upon my children useful fucking information.
Yes.
Like instead of well, they're both in college now and they
Right.
both want to be there. But I told them straight up, if you find that you don't like this,
Right.
now is the time in
To
life to
stop
go
doing it.
fucking go and do whatever
Yeah.
you want.
Right.
Because you can always come back home.
You can.
You're at the age where failure is actually going to help you succeed. So go fail a bunch of times,
Right.
right? And one of
Absolutely.
the other things I told them too is I'm like, if you're thinking about starting a business,
Mm-hmm.
just don't do it because you have a passion for all of it.
Right.
Like try to find something that there's money in it. Not
Yeah,
to say
right.
you want to be a millionaire or
No.
anything, but you want to be able to at least do it. You can't
Oh.
sell to a bunch of people without money.
If I would have stayed on my original career path, one, I'd be retired right now
Right.
on full pension.
Yeah.
But two, I'd be earning a lot more money than I'm earning right now.
But you probably have to wear a tie at some point.
No.
No? You wouldn't be like an officer guy or something like that?
No. When was the last time you saw fucking General Stormin Norman Schwarzkopf came out and adjusted his tie? No.
I've seen him with ties.
Fucking BDUs, man.
Okay.
Our military does very little anymore that you need Class A's for.
Okay.
Our military decided a long time ago that us having 4 sets of clothing, like military getting shot at, fancy dress party, and not so fancy dress party, like Class B's and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Our military kind of gave up on that, and they thought it was just dumb that, the guy who's literally out there to put heavy shit in the air, long range, would have a fucking 3-piece suit in his closet for that dress up day, And it is true. It's completely stupid.
Good for them, guys.
The only
That's
time I would ever put on my Class A's was on certain, one day a quarter where we'd have to go put on our Class A's to prove that we still knew how to work them.
Mm-hmm.
And to get a paycheck or to get award ceremonies. You'd have to put in Class A's to go get awards. Other than that, it was just a thing that hung in our locker, that our sergeants could pick on us for not having set up correctly in our locker, right? It was an opportunity to get fucked with.
Okay.
So the military decided they could save billions with a B dollars if they quit making dog-faced privates wear this stupid monkey suit, this stupid clown
makes
suit.
sense, actually.
It really does make sense.
Sometimes the Army
Yeah.
does things right, huh?
Well, it got me through my 20s. I mean, honestly, it got me through those very dangerous years between 17 and 22, right? That
Yeah,
window
right,
where
right.
most kids fuck themselves up.
Yeah.
Turns out Uncle Sam, pretty goddamn good babysitter.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Gives you all the dangerous shit. Points you in a safe direction.
Right.
Right? That's okay. That's not too bad. It's better than being back here drinking myself into a Chevrolet.
Right.
Right? And having a lifetime of regret. So yeah, it's not too bad. But the idea for kids, I mean, I think that all the kids that are out there, I don't freak out. I'm not like those guys like, oh my God, the future's fucked. Kids are dumb. Kids have a problem with sensitivity because we won't let them go out and get hit by rocks anymore. Like, your kids aren't free range children like they were.
We're also witnessing a change in everything, like the internet, all this stuff. Like we don't even know what our children are compared to what we were.
Like I said earlier,
They're not even the same.
Okay, I've seen some internet, and when I was 9, I found a stack of Hustler magazines.
Right.
I assure you, the stack of Hustler magazines, 6 episodes of Beaver Hunt was more changing for me than the entire internet.
Yeah, but
it has the same.
You're not a 14-year-old girl.
You've been to Pornhub, right?
I was a 9-year-old boy.
No, I know,
and
but-
I became a 14-year-old boy.
No, but I'm saying nowadays with the internet and stuff.
Oh yeah. No, the
kids are like it's. I'm not talking about the porn and stuff.
Right.
I'm talking about the amount of information they're getting. I couldn't handle being 14 without the internet and going to the log in the woods to find porn and all that
the
stuff.
porn log, yeah.
But like
The porn log.
there was I had like 100 not friends, acquaintances at my high school, and I couldn't even handle getting made fun of by most of them.
Right.
So now you take these kids that are 12 and 14, and now
Yeah,
they're getting made fun of by the
cyberbullying,
world.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how you would even deal. So we're dealing with kids that aren't even kids anymore.
A parent told me recently that the reason that their kids were in the house so much is that the parent was concerned about the safety issues of having the child outside of the house.
Well, that's stupid. On that.
And I get that, but I really do feel that their opportunities being online are scary.
Yeah, I mean,
The people that have access to them and the people they have access to, it's scary. So I
think
don't,
about trying to develop your emotions, develop a balanced understanding of the interpersonal relationships and like the meanings of like different things.
Yeah.
And now a lot of that's gone. You're communicating through texts.
Right.
You're communicating through chats.
Right.
You have groups of people online that these kids get in, and if they're not part of that group, now they're and the reality is they don't even know. It's not like the clique in the lunchroom didn't let you hang
I was going
out
to say,
with
in
them.
my high school or my formative years, the abuse was first person.
Right.
It was at a range of 3 feet or 2 feet, and it hurt. It hurt real bad, and it made you make choices. It made you say, "Okay, well, these people are dead to me now. I'm going to go find new friends."
But imagine feeling that way from people that you've never even met.
Well, that's exactly it.
Yeah,
Right,
it's terrible,
Yeah,
man.
the volume of it goes
Okay.
way up.
Yeah.
So back to So get on your internet listening device and download a podcast. We're a bunch of
adults.
grown ass adult men can also
Making fun of people on
participate in
Harleys.
Well, whatever. Yeah, I think they can take it. So
I hope. They seem a little thin-skinned.
I hope the company can take it. That's all. That's it. So just because I wanted to make sure that they know, my other car is a broke down motorcycle. It's called twowheelsanddeals.com, www.twowheelsanddeals.com.
Yeah.
I've already had feedback on this from my listings that I posted up, and I am going to put 2 more listings up because I got 2 more motorcycles I want to sell that I want to put up there at twowheelsanddeals.com. That's the long way, 2TWO, twowheelsanddeals.com. I have had on my Facebook Marketplace that I have motorcycles up on. This week, I've got another 475 is this available posts. That's not making that up. It's 475 is this availables. I've also had somebody offer to fuck you, that bike's not worth $200. I thought that was nice. They took the time to send me a message. That $2,000 bike's not worth $200. And by the way, if you're listening, fuck you back. I sold that bike today for $2,100. So enjoy the sex with your hat.
Isn't that the dude? I didn't want to deal with fucking Marketplace anymore.
Yeah.
And so I took my camera to Pixel Connection because they were right there, and I'm like, hey. And I'm like, at this point, I was willing to give them like $400. Like $400 or $500. I'll let you make that because you're going to do all that shit that I don't want to do, right?
Absolutely.
So it's an $1,800 camera all day long.
All
Guy's
day
like,
long.
I'll give you $400. I go, bro. I'm like, I was willing to give you a decent amount to take this work, but now that was insulting, right? Yeah. So you know what? Fuck that guy. I sold it in 5 minutes for fucking $1,700.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And so I went on, I never do this, but the guy pissed me off so bad.
Yeah.
I went on their Google thing and I was like, as a professional, I would look forward
Right.
to possibly working with you guys. But
However-
to insult
Right.
somebody and not even offer a reasonable price when the person that was going to do it was willing to take a loss that was significant, knowing that you have a business and you have to pay your bills.
Well, how about a professional clearly trying to take advantage of another professional?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a
I'm not
schmuck.
Joe off the street here.
And it wasn't a pawn shop.
This
I
isn't
wasn't
a pawn
like,
shop.
I wasn't
right.
shaking and scratching my arm going, hey, bud, what can you do for me?
Well,
here?
so the motorcycle I sold today was to a gentleman's first motorcycle. His first motorcycle of his life. He'd had some dirt bikes when he was a kid, playing around and that kind of stuff, but this is his first adult owning my own real motorcycle.
Well done.
This is the bike that, the VT 1100 Shadow that we rode, and it's fine bike, runs great, it's
Yeah.
all cool. He showed up, and I felt I was so conflicted because the other day he showed up and he's got his wife with him and their baby. And I'm like, oh God, I'm taking food out of this kid's fucking mouth.
Yeah.
And it's a motorcycle too. So, that's, but hey, I'm not here to gatekeep for anybody.
Nope.
You want to do it? I'm going to help you do it. This kid showed up today, $2,100 as promised. He gave us a deposit the other day because he didn't have the $2,100 all in one place. He gave us the deposit, said, please, please, please. I got $300 right now. Will you take this as a deposit? Will you take the listing down off the internet? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll take your $300 deposits. Keep in mind, you change your mind, I'm keeping your $300 deposit because I'm taking this thing off the internet. So I did. And he showed up today, and he was fucking ready. Mm-hmm. And he'd gotten himself a helmet. He got himself a pair of gloves. He had a jacket. He is dialed. He paid so much attention to when I explained Fine C, fuel ignition neutral engine choke, or clutch in the case, but in the case it was fuel ignition neutral engine choke. Fine C will get you there. He loved that. I talked him through the whole thing, got him ready, got him all dialed in. He's like, oh man. And he says, and our parking lot's small. We got like 8 spaces. And 4 of them are full of Japanese cars.
Yep.
So
Getting a truck and trailer in there is
it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
We use a school parking lot across the street.
Yeah.
So I go, well, I'm sensing the trepidation. He was stalling. So I got the bike, fired it up, and took it over to the side street, took it over to 162nd. He's got a long straight way to go and then a cul-de-sac at the end. He thanked me. He was the happiest guy in the world. Got his first real motorcycle. His first motorcycle with a license plate. His first, not a dirt bike, right? His first thing that wasn't an 80cc cousin's dirt bike out in the field. The dude I was excited to see his level of energy because that was it for him. That was it. He wanted a motorcycle. He is probably going to own a Harley at some point, but a VT 1100 is not a bad starter bike.
It's a really good.
Yeah. And he's a big enough guy
Gateway.
that bike is not fucking him around.
Yeah.
He's got he's got the bike.
They're great bikes.
I bet you he puts 20,000 miles on it.
He was really into it, and he was very careful about everything. He was like, okay, now explain to me again, non-ethanol gas. And I was like, yeah, he was literally checking it off. I think for him, this is going to be a very good experience. And it made me happy. It really did make me happy to have somebody come in and be like, I really want to do this. Because a lot of guys are just like, I remember when, whatever. And that's what they're doing. They're looking for a second or a third or a fourth act for something they may have, looks better in the rearview mirror. He's starting his adventure right now. And it's pretty cool.
Did you ever have anything, I've noticed in my life, when I like something, I usually stick with it for a long time. I don't come and go out of things.
Yeah,
right.
I
was just trying to think, that's weird that people do that. I'm going to ride motorcycles. I'm not going to ride. And I get okay, maybe I slowed down a little bit when I first had no, actually, I was actually doing wheelies when I had my first kid. So I guess, I don't know.
I know, man. I know.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that when they have their kids, they go, I have a responsibility to this family. Right?
See,
Chris did this.
Yeah, I probably should have.
I guarantee Chris did this because I've met his family.
Right.
Right? And his kids are amazing. His family, he's got an amazing family. And he did absolutely the right thing, was going to be like, my responsibility to this small platoon of people I've built is such that if I take myself out of it for something stupid, their whole life is going to suck. Mm-hmm. Their whole life is going to suck. So he made the decision, take a time out. And I deal with a lot of people who are now, okay, kids are gone. Let's have act 2.
Now I'm overcompensating.
It's fine.
So you bought an Ultra Glide?
No, but okay.
I bought a monkey.
He got a monkey.
Yeah.
He's literally gone full circle.
Yes.
He's truly gone. Like, second childhood? Fuck it, I'll have a fourth.
There we go.
Yeah, and there's nothing. That's badass.
Yeah.
I ordered his tires.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, okay, if you're a podcast listener, here's your super duper tech tip for the day. Honda monkeys do not use Honda Grom tires. Honda monkeys are 12-inch rims, but they're an extra 10 millimeters or 10% taller in the sidewall. It gives them the chunky monkey look. So instead of being a 130 by 70 by 12, they're a 130 by 80 by 12.
Okay.
Yep.
That small difference. Now, you can run 130 by 70 by 12s on monkeys. A lot of people do. And there are white wall tires and stuff that are available, and people put them on monkeys, and they look cool. But the tire has a slimmer, lower profile. It doesn't have the balloon tire look that a monkey tire is supposed to have.
Did they gear them differently
What?
because of the tire size? Like, so
No, a monkey's geared for monkeys.
No, but I'm saying, so they both have the same 125 motor, right?
You mean a Grom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did they gear the Grom? Because they
I
obviously
don't think they went to that much trouble.
So the monkey should be faster.
No,
legitimately.
it won't because the
Not-
tire's taller.
Yeah, but I mean, like, well,
Oh yeah, terminal gearing will change.
yeah, that's what I'm
terminal
saying.
gearing will
Not
change.
off the line or anything. That'd be
If
slower.
you think that motor has enough power to give you that overgear,
I'm just saying.
I mean, theoretically it can go faster.
That was my point.
It's gonna be,
I'm just
but it's
saying.
gonna be slower off the line.
Right, yeah, right.
It'll
And
be
that's-
slower off the line, but it will
And
have a
uphills.
theoretically higher top
Right.
speed.
It
Like
will
if-
do 2 miles an hour faster than the Grom.
That's my point.
But I don't think it's there.
I gotta get there.
If you want to pull those gears,
Oh, I know.
you got to make the power first.
Yeah,
right?
right.
But in any case, so I did, and hang in there, folks, because what I'm about to lay on you might fuck you up a little bit. I've been buying tires for over 40 years, and I know all the tricks for buying cheap tires, and I have all the vendors that I have literally $1 million accounts with that give me very, very good deals on tires. Such a good deal, in fact, that when you go to their website and you buy the tires from them, and they tell you, like, oh, you're a dealer, you buy the tire from them, and that's the cost. And then I buy the tire, and it's lower than that. I don't know how they did that. What did they do? Well, I'm buying at a level that I'm at a different discount rate.
Right.
And that's cool, and that happens. So I went to all my usual suppliers trying to find a 130/80 by 12. Nunzo.
Ooh.
Squatoosh. Right? Fuck it. Nobody's got these things. But Honda puts V Rubber, the brand V Rubber, which is Thai, I believe, on their bikes, on that bike. So I go to V Rubber and I find who's the authorized V Rubber distributor in the United States. It is this place called Metapocalypse or whatever, and all they do are the donks. They do the donks with the giant tires, and they do the 300 series on the back, because that's what V Rubber loves, is the 300 series on the back.
Oh yeah.
How the fuck did they become the official U.S. distributor for V Rubber? It says so on their thing. Their website was made in 1991, right? It's awful. But apparently, when V Rubber was desperately trying to break into the U.S. market with a big, fat, wide tire that nobody else had the balls to make, these guys were like, that's what we do. I'll take a bunch. And they did. Wow. And we remember, because one of the motorcycle shows we went to years ago, the donks with the 32 and 36-inch front tires were there. And they were like, yeah, this front tire is $2,500. And I was like, no, it's not. It's a V Rubber. I punched up my thing, and I was like, yeah, there it is. It's $196. Right? It's not a $2,500 front tire. Well, I paid $2,500 for it. Oh, no, you paid $2,300 extra for it, right? You made a $2,300 donation to somebody else's motorcycle building habit, right? You paid for those fancy spinning wheels. So I tried everywhere to get that fucking tire, and everywhere I went, it was 105, 106, 110, 105, 106, 110 for a 12-inch tire that
crazy.
doesn't say Michelin on the side of it.
Right.
If it said Michelin on the side of it, game on, I'm there, right? If it said Continental on the side of it, game on, I'm there. That's what they cost. The world has gotten more expensive. Michelin City Grip 2s, that's what they cost. This isn't a Michelin City Grip 2. It's a fucking V Rubber. we know our station in life. I'm not saying they're bad tires. I'm saying they're not great tires.
Is that what's on the TNT?
No, TNTs come with cordials.
Cordials. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Cordials, which is also not a great tire.
No, slightly less probably than the V.
No. Yeah. The V's up here,
Yeah.
the cordial's down
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Anyway. So I figured there's more than one way to skin a cat. I'm going to go to the Honda website, and I'm going to go to Honda's website, and I'm going to get Honda's part number for that tire. Because I order parts from Japan all the time using the manufacturer's part numbers. And it's shocking to me how shipping things from Japan can sometimes be cheaper than shipping things from Milwaukee.
Sure.
And sometimes the price of things in Japan is cheaper than buying things in Milwaukee. So I typed that really long Honda part number in. There it is. It's at RevZilla. It's not $90 because I have a shop discount at RevZilla to give me an extra 15% or something over you plebes, you citizens out there, right? And I tell you, and if RevZilla really put two and two together on how little I ordered from RevZilla, they would take away my dealer discount. Right. But for the odd item that I can't get anywhere else, sometimes they have it, right? So I punched the thing up. $49.
Oh, yeah.
No fucking way.
Nice job.
So I punch up the front one or the back one now. I punch up the back one because there's no way they're going to have both of them. They have it. They say 2 in stock out of the entire of RevZilla. And you couldn't find the tire by typing the size 120 by 80 by 12. You couldn't find it by typing it into their Find-O-Matic 4000.
Right.
You had to type in the Honda actual factory part number for that V rubber tire. That's the only way I could find it.
The build on dates were in 2018.
I have no idea. And it might vary. And you know what? And if it is, I still don't care. Because that tire is not under that much stress, right? I am so blindsided that a third-party vendor like RevZilla, who's got to make profit on somebody else's profit at this point, had that tire for that price. Now, they're going to show, I hope they're going to show up, right? So when they show up, though, it's going to be like you said, let's check the dates to see, are these rotten, spoiled tires? Now, I don't know how long monkeys have existed. When did they come out? 2020?
The new ones?
Yeah.
Well, mine's a 19.
Then we know that this tire will probably be from 18 or 19. Because this tire size didn't need to exist before this.
Right.
Right. Because the old monkeys had 8-inch tires.
You know what my favorite part about Harleys is now?
Yeah.
So I was looking up part numbers just to find different things. And you
Last
get to
two
it.
digits are the age code.
Yeah, but the best part is when you see what they'll fit.
Yeah.
And it's like, we'll work with 38 through 97 or something like that.
We
You're like,
talked
Jesus
about
Christ.
this. Yeah.
I think it's great.
I do too.
Yeah. So, I mean,
it was really cool.
But anyway, I'm very excited when the package comes in with Chris's tires in it to see exactly what I'm getting, because it is truly half. It's literally fucking half. Wow. And this might be a cheat code for if you're trying to buy parts for some motorcycle you own or something like that. Don't list the description of the part. Go to the trouble of finding what the manufacturer's OEM part number is for it, because they might have some deal cooked up with Honda or Yamaha or Kawasaki that RevZilla gets a special price code for these items. I didn't try some other stuff. I'm going to try some stuff that are pretty common, like mirrors. So I'm going to try some items that we sell a lot of, but I know there's a Honda part number for that. And I'm going to try putting in an aftermarket part number, of something we've been selling for a long time, but then find the Honda OEM part number for this exact same thing, like maybe a chain or a belt or a battery or something like that. Because if an expendable like a tire can be half as much money
belt.
shopping from the RevZilla than from my goddamn tire supplier. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's real interesting.
Do you think it's just because of the rarity of that tire?
No. I think it's because in the interest of RevZilla having the marketing clout to be able to say, we sell all the OEMs. And the fact that RevZilla has pages and pages and pages of, quote, microfiche that you can go on and get the part number, the actual real manufacturer's
I use
part
that
number.
shit all the time.
I know you do. We all do.
Yeah.
We all use RevZilla's resource to buy our parts from eBay.
or wherever.
or
sometimes
Amazon,
buy-
right?
I've bought stuff from Revzilla.
Yes,
though.
but the point being, I can promise you that I have gone to Revzilla when I wasn't close to a computer where I could go and get my handy, PartSmart system. I would just go to Revzilla fast and down and a dirty and be like, oh, that's the belt I need. That's the 9-digit part number. Copy, paste that into Amazon, and there's the belt I need.
I did this
for
in
half
person.
as much money.
I went to Midas over there and had him look at my muffler.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's like, okay, well here's the list of all the stuff you're gonna need. It's $750. I'm like, I have to think about it. Can I take that? He's like, yeah. So now I got all the part numbers, and I'm just
And you
searching-
work for a parts distributor
Exactly.
who probably sells him the parts he's putting on your car.
Exactly, but now I don't have to look them up.
Right. That's it. Yeah, whatever. So that's it. Anybody else got anything else?
No.
Okay, what's our time, Sleepy?
Chris, you got a joke?
228.
Damn it!
We killed it again. Chris has got a joke.
No.
No joke?
I'm out.
All right.
Well,
That's all I
guess
got.
we don't have it.
Everybody remember to ride fast and take chances. Ba, 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 da,
Bum, bum.
Hit the red button. Eject.